I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Federation Starship Enterprise. How can we be prepared for that which we do not know? But I do know that we are ready to encounter it. Really? Yes, absolutely. That's why we're out here.
Your Honor, Starfleet was founded to seek out new life. Well, there it sits. This is about saving the future of humanity.
Things are only impossible until they're not.
Yes, sir.
The first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth, whether it's scientific truth, or historical truth, or personal truth. It is the guiding principle on which Starfleet is based.
Come. I am Locutus of Borg.
Tea Earl Grey, hot.
Make it so.
Captain, I have complete confidence in your ability to represent my interests.
Oh, Data. You never know what's over the horizon.
To new worlds, sir.
To new worlds.
Engage.
Hello and welcome to Picard Parsec, a podcast about the CBS All Access series Picard. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Ryan DeVere.
I'm Joel Houghton, and coming to you live from my living room, Kaylee.
Hello.
Yay!
Although this won't be live.
Thank you.
By the time this is heard, it's
Finally.
not even live now. Yeah.
Finally, we get to find out who is the better Star Trek fan, Joel or
Ryan
Kaylee.
or Kaylee. Which
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
that's
my.
a good one.
And this week we will be discussing the season finale of Picard, Season 1, Episode 10, Et in Arcadia Ego Part 2.
Part 2.
Yes, which finishes this whole season up, leaves us all really satisfied and begging for more, Watchmen style. What's going to happen?
Got all the answers we need.
all of them.
I will say, I really thought this one was going to open up with kind of the resolution to what happened on Mars. We've been talking about it, and like most of the story about it has been from these flashbacks, and yet there was no flashback this episode.
Yeah, this is second episode in a row, no flashback.
Yeah. So I mean, I know no spoilers for what's coming, but like I don't feel like we got enough of an explanation to what happened on Mars for as much attention as we paid to it.
There were several questions that were raised that I don't feel like we got good answers to.
Yeah, I feel like you could piece all of it together. They kind of leave that for you to do. Which
They answered some questions that they didn't even need to ask.
that is true.
That's a strange finale. I have one question. I'll just jump to the end.
Do it.
Where is Narek?
Hi, yeah.
What happened to Narek?
Nobody knows. He's like a thief in the night. He can just escape anywhere he wants to.
Do they just deal with him on the Girardi principle? Like, you do terrible things, but then you apologize and say, oops, and you're good? Is he part of the crew now?
Yeah,
like, we didn't see him, but is he like... He's just gone. There's no explanation whatsoever what happens to Narek.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't really think that Narissa's dead either. So...
Can you think of a single time that a character falling off an edge has actually killed them?
I mean, there's Gandalf, right? He died.
Well, but that doesn't even really count, though, does it?
He does die.
I know
He
that.
does die, but it doesn't really count.
I mean,
fully dies.
Simba's dad.
But he didn't die from the fall. He died from the trampling. And same
I'm
with
pretty sure he would have
Scar.
died.
Same with Scar. Scar falls off a Pride Rock, and it's the hyenas that finish him off. It's not the fall.
I would say it's King
That's
Kong is the one.
You what?
King Kong.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Oh,
But was that
Palpatine?
the fall, or is that the... But see, that's it. Even Palpatine doesn't die.
Darth
We know,
Maul,
like-
right?
But he did. Cause
But he
was
was cut in half.
Mace
he was a
Windu,
clone.
from what we know so far.
But we don't... Right. See?
Samuel L. Jackson says he's still out there.
Wait, isn't he Snoke?
This is not a Star Wars Theories podcast.
No, I don't know that we've seen a character fall off an edge and it actually means something.
But they made her voice echo a lot, so it's like she
It was a
fell-
whole, yeah, that was actually
She really fell.
my
Oh,
note
I'll
on
tell
that
ya.
was like, they really did a lot to emphasize that she fell a long way.
Yeah.
What's her name? Fraulein at the end of Last Crusade. She fell to a death.
Who, wait, what? What?
At
The
the end
Last
of
Crusade?
Indiana
Is that
Jones
the-
and the Last Crusade,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
where she tries to go for the
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's right.
I was
We
really
found
struggling
one.
to come up with anybody.
We don't know that she died though. She could have fallen to like the underworld and exists now.
she's hanging out with that old knight now. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't exactly know. She's probably dead, but it's inconclusive at best.
Inconclusive at best. All right. Well, what we do know is the episode opens up with Narek. He made it to the Borg cube, and he walks in. He's kind of skulking around, and around the corner we see Elnor and Seven talking about. Elnor's like ready to get rid of these XBs. He's like, nobody wants them. They're not useful for anything. They don't have any home. And to which I
Seven's
feel
like,
like it's
"Thanks."
fairly obvious. Yeah, I feel like it's fairly obvious that like Seven has the Borg stuff all over her. She looks a lot like Hugh, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Surprise! I'm actually an XB. Should I just kill myself?" And he's like, "No, I would miss you."
Which
Did
is
they
just
know
as-
each other?
No, this is the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've
Uh,
known each other for 15 minutes, and he's like, "I'd miss you." What? That didn't make any sense. It was weird.
He gets
was
really
really
attached to
interesting.
people very easily.
Well,
He really
they
does, yeah.
they force a lot of relationships between crew members in this episode that makes us feel like we're supposed to care, but they haven't established any.
Yeah.
They haven't done any the labor and the actual work to get a meaningful relationship. They're just like, these guys are friends now.
Yeah, it would be basically.
So they do this a
if-
lot.
If you watched Lord of the Rings, but you cut out, they get to Rivendell, and then you cut out everything with the Mines of Moria. They do, what is it? Was it Weathertop that they all separate? So you do that.
Weathertop is before.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
Weathertop's
that's
where
where
Weathertop's
Frodo
the-
gets
that's
stabbed.
That's the
Amon
trolls.
Hen. Amon Hen is where
is
they're
that- that's what it
separate.
is. Yeah, you jump straight to that, and then you skip all of Isengard and everything. You just jump everything towards them meeting back up in Gondor, and then Frodo throws the ring in, and there you go. There's the episode. Wasn't that a fantastic journey of growth and accomplishment?
That's basically how. And then you have like the hobbits jumping around on the bed with Gandalf like watching and creepily laughing, and it's just like, why are these guys friends? That's basically what this was.
Yeah, they did a lot of like. They wanted you to believe there was more story here in history than what we actually got.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the dialogue mattered as much as they just needed a setting for Narek to just sneak around in. Like he's being all sneaky.
He's a sneaky sneaker.
He's pretty sneaky.
Very
Yeah.
sneaky.
I mean, it's really lucky for Elnor and Seven that none of the Romulans survived.
Yeah.
They're just only XBs made it.
Only
None of the-
XBs made it.
None of the scientists that we talked about from the first two episodes, they're all gone.
No,
They're all
nobody.
gone.
It's okay.
Soji's
Rizzo
friend.
survived though.
Which, okay, so yeah, the next scene, it's kind of the same scene. Rizzo sneaks up behind Narek and then puts a knife to his throat, and then they have this very impassioned hug, and that would have probably been the best place for them to do the Game of Thrones kind of a kiss, but
yeah.
okay, they decided to pull their punch there.
I'm glad that we zigged there instead of zagged.
Yeah.
It's,
That was good. Although that would have been the most meaningful relationship that they had set up throughout the
It
series.
would have been.
Very true.
They actually knew each other.
Yeah.
We really don't get a resolution then to Maud Mothma. That's not her name. What was her name?
Oh, the ant?
The Romulan. Yeah.
Uh,
Why can't I come up with her name?
It's
Who?
Ramda.
what's her name? Ramda.
Ramda. Yeah. Well, she left her there. On
On
the.
the Borg cube.
Oh, but she's on the Borg cube.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Right. She's dead, right? I mean, she's just
Well,
gone.
she is an XB. She could survive.
Maybe she's one of the XBs that...
Next season is going to open up with Ramda finding Rizzo and assimilating her, and now we've got Jat Vash Borg.
Ooh.
Right? That's where they're headed. Is that what's happening? Because there was no mention of her. Anyway, so Rizzo survived the cube crashing. It's amazing how the plot armor saved everybody important to the plot.
But
Got rid of
also,
all that.
why was she there? Because the last time we saw her, she was being attacked, and she was teleported off and into another ship that flew off.
Well, we
That's
thought
what-
they
right.
were. We thought she was, but we never really got like she teleported, and then we saw a ship leave. So we assumed that, but maybe she went back. And she's like, "Oh, I forgot my wallet," and she had to go back real quick to.
Right. It was really crazy to me that they didn't know what to do with her there. It really seemed like they wrote the script and they were like, and Rizzo escapes because of transportation, and then whenever they needed her to show up again, they're like, oh yeah, she was on the cube, I guess. It seemed like they were trying to figure out how to do the Romulan invasion without actually putting their characters there.
Doing anything.
It was very odd. And then Rizzo asks if she's asking questions about if he's made contact.
Well, have you found them?
Yes, they're all here.
Have you f***ed any of them?
Not yet.
Killed any?
One.
Well, I call that progress. Come see my hiding place.
And if he's slept with any of the synths yet.
Oh, she didn't just say that. She dropped the
right.
F-bomb. And
They slipped another one in there.
but she did it in a way that you're like all the other times you're allowed to say it as like a noun or an adjective, but the way she says it, you can't say in a PG-13 movie, because when you make it a verb, that's when it's the ultimate
Is it really?
taboo.
Is that the line?
Yeah, so when she said it that way, I was like, oh, this sounds like the harshest of them all.
A really bad.
Yeah.
A really bad swear word.
And then she asked if he's killed any of them. He said he killed one, and she's like, "Good, yes. Oh, I'm a mustache twirling evil person."
This is progress. Did you guys notice that her name is just Carissa with an N? We laughed about Narek being Derek with an N, and her name is just Narissa. So that's how they name their. What do you want to name this one? How about Robert? Yes, Nobbert.
Are there
Wonderful.
people named
That's really...
Carissa?
My sister.
Or Marissa.
My sister is named Carissa. I guess it could be Marissa.
No, but you're dead on there. Like that. It's really just people named with an N.
Yeah.
Yeah, this relationship, like their antagonistic relationship, really went basically nowhere.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Why did Rizzo need to exist as a character at all?
Exactly. 100%. Why couldn't
what
it
did
just
we
been
gain?
O?
Yeah, why couldn't Narek just work for O?
There's really no... I can't think of any.
Because he's a Jat Voss washout.
Say that 10 times fast.
But because of her, like, does him being a Jat Voss washout doesn't add anything? He could just be Jat Voss.
Yeah, we spent a fair amount of time. Remember that one time we saw her impersonating a Federation officer, and then that was just gone forever?
Yep.
She somehow made it to the cube, no explanation. Like.
Maybe that's her superpower, is that she just shows up on the Borg cube unexpected.
She can just teleport. It's just a superpower.
She did mention, I'll be there in a few days. In like episode 3 or 4, she's like, I'll be there in a few days. So she had to travel. Probably in coach, because they don't like her very much. They wouldn't put her first class.
But she showed up on the Borg cube again this episode. So like that's just her thing, is that's what she does.
She just goes home.
That's all she can do. Could she have used her like emergency beam me up Scotty button while she's falling?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
So
been-
like when she
that's
got
been
kicked,
shown.
she should have just been like, no problem.
And there was the whole Romulan fleet there as well at the time, wasn't there? So they probably
Were they
picked her
there
up.
yet?
Let me see.
Yeah, they were either
See
there.
mine?
Yeah.
Yes, they were already there.
Yeah, 7. Yeah. So like it's happening in real time. That's actually like when they arrive is halfway through that
Yeah.
fight. The next scene we get is Picard is in Maddox's office. He's locked up, and he sees a butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
The butterfly flies out the window, and he says, "Lucky you." To which
And a
then we
tear
get-
came to all of our eyes.
Do you think he was in that moment thinking of his old friend Geordi? There's a butterfly in the sky. I can fly twice as high.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
I was gonna go the route of an old man trapped by an old friend who's betrayed him, sending a,
The Eagles.
a wing. Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna go the route of Ian McKellen.
The
Oh,
orchids!
yeah,
The orchids are coming!
He could have grabbed it and like whispered to his, and then let it out the window.
Yeah.
Lucky
That would've
you
been
is a
better.
code, some kind of a code for Riker.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Lucky. Yeah. Then Soji enters. Agnes is kind of hiding around a corner, very inconspicuously.
And you're like, oh, she's gonna rip out someone's eye. That's what's gonna happen.
Spoiler alert.
We all know where this is going.
This show has a
So-
thing for eye stuff.
It does.
I know,
At
right?
least they didn't show it. At least they didn't this time show the ripping
I-
out of the eye.
Why not? This should have been the scene that we see the eye thing and
The
not
most gruesome.
HM.
It's
It
a little
should've
dark
been,
for
like-
Girardi, like for the character that they're trying to
She killed
make
her
her
lover.
be. But she didn't do anything. She just turned off the respirator or whatever it was.
I
That
guess that's true.
it would have been pretty dark to actually watch our lovable, goofy Girardi rip out somebody's eye.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Do you
gnarly.
think-
Stab
She does it
Maddox in
pretty
both
easily.
eyes.
Do you think this is going to
Yeah.
launch Alison Pill's career to a new level? She's played the,
She did say that I'm pretty good at the spy stuff. Is she the new Bourne?
we do need a new Bond.
Oh,
Let's just go the complete opposite route. It's just this bumbling, anxious, quiet type.
I mean, blonde hair, blue eyed, though, right?
Right. Anyway, so Soji walks in. She gives this speech about how you've got to see how why we have to keep you captive. You know, you get to choose if we live. You get to choose if we die. You choose. And like synthetics are always the one that get to. It's like organics get to choose everything about synthetics. To which Picard has a nice comeback. He says, "To say you have no choice is a failure of imagination," which I thought that feels like an old Picard kind of statement. And Picard asks her to please shut down the beacon. That we've seen this like once or twice, or no, we haven't seen it yet, but we cut to it after this of this thing getting just like 3D printed outside. I guess that's a thing. I don't know. That wasn't really why couldn't that have been built beforehand? Why do we have to have this? I guess it's like a timer.
Yeah.
They can't start it until it gets built.
but I don't know if they had somebody else doing it while she was gone. But then, like at the second half of the episode, all she's doing is like doing her. What was she doing?
Can we please? Can movies and TV shows please stop this with the fake moving things around? Like, I think Minority Report was probably the first example of
I was
it
about
that
to
I
say
can remember.
that's the best one.
And that was the best of it. And I don't know, like, there's been a couple scenes in, like, the Iron Man movies, but in general, it just looks like people are flailing. It doesn't look good.
What is she even doing?
Yeah.
Right. She's just stacking imaginary blocks.
She's just moving blocks around. And sometimes she would move stuff from the top that's being worked on to the bottom. Isn't that counterintuitive to the... it was weird.
Now,
Strange.
I mean, Star Trek is well noted, well documented with the sci-fi jargon and the... I mean, the Enterprise is full of just buttons that people just go to town on. Nobody knows what they're actually doing. It's not labeled in any way that you could reasonably tell. I especially love some of the older ones, like the tricorders and stuff. There's like 3 buttons on those things, and people are just tapping like crazy, and they can get whatever result the script needs. But this in particular felt like I have no idea what she's doing, and it doesn't really matter to me. Like this, you might as well just have it literally being a loading bar that she's having to add +1 to every time. Like it doesn't mean anything.
Well, and why is she the one doing it?
Because she's special.
Yeah, I don't
Is
understand.
that, like...
Yeah, why it was her and not the Soong character, because he theoretically designed it, or
was that her job on the
Sutra.
Borg cube? Was that why she was sent there? Was to figure out how to do this imaginary block building?
Right, but
they didn't even know about it.
Do that.
But she's a mortician. That doesn't seem right.
Yeah. So then we cut back to Narek is back on board the Borg cube. He's collecting these explosives into a bag, talking to Rizzo about how he was the washout Jat Vash, and he was the one that found Zeb Shadeb or El Shaddai or whatever it is.
Whoa.
And isn't it amazing and all this? And he's telling Rizzo that she needs to get the Borg weapons online. And then he sneaks out of the Borg cube, and then we see that Elnor is falling behind because he knew, I guess, for some reason. He caught on.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Kawat Malat way. He knows.
I mean, they could have just inserted a shot of Narek leaving, and then Elnor just seeing him and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check this out."
Right. We needed to watch them follow.
They had this set built already of the entrance to the hole in the side of the Borg cube, and they really wanted to just keep using it.
Isn't it convenient that the door lined up perfectly with the ground? And this crashed ship, it's just perfect.
Yep. Yeah, we don't really know that the cube fell right side up or what, but they're able to kind of maneuver through it pretty freely, aren't they?
Well,
it appears like it's...
Soji goes back to her room, right? In last episode, she goes back to her room, and the Borg is the right way up.
So it is the right way up.
Yeah, and they're on like consoles and stuff that are all the right way up. It seems to me that the flowers grabbed them and just like lowered them down, because if they just dropped them, La Sirena would be destroyed.
You would think so, yeah.
Like a Borg cube could probably take that hit, but that small ship is going to be, and it was operational.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right. Let's see. And then we cut over to Rios and Raffi on the La Sirena. They've got this Deus Ex Machina controller thing.
The
and they're talking
Ocarina.
about, yeah, they're talking about all the things that are wrong with the ship. They got to get this to do that, and they don't know how it's gonna work. And then it works, and it's very just convenient all the way around.
It's
you just have to use your imagination.
They needed the La Sirena to be just broke enough that Picard and company had to leave the ship last episode, but not too broken that it couldn't get fixed.
Yeah.
I thought that their usage of this ocarina was smart of them and a little meta, because they, as producers and writers of the show, are asking us, the audience, to use our imagination to make this scene work.
It's an invitation to suspend your disbelief.
Join with us. Join with Rios, and let's pretend like this makes sense. Because in this crash landing... Hey, go ahead, Travis.
Yeah.
Oh, I just said I caramba.
Ay, caramba.
Oh.
I gotta say, throughout this whole thing, Rios, what's his name? It's not Sebastian Stan. That's
Oh, the
That's
actor's
the
name?
crab from The Little Mermaid.
Santiago Cabrera?
Santiago Cabrera. I mean, he's actually had a decent career. He's just not notable in any, like he changes very much from role to role, and I would like to see him get some credit for this character. Rios was probably one of the most entertaining people on screen throughout this,
and all of his different personalities.
And right, he got to play everything.
Didn't get to see them this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do anything with that the last two. We didn't see him last episode.
Which we will get to that later on, but it would have been handy for them to have shown up later on in this episode.
Yes, there are times I can think of it would be useful to have people designed to operate the ship. Would have been good.
Yeah, but the controller thing, I don't know. It's a thing, I guess. It doesn't really make any sense to me, and it'll probably show up again on board the La Serena next season, I'm sure.
Well, now they can do whatever they want.
Right.
They have a cheat code.
Yeah. It's a MacGuffin. So then we cut back to Agnes goes into...
Wait.
Wait, I'm sorry.
So that scene ends, and they hear a knocking sound on the ship.
Yeah.
And Rio says, "I know that sound," which is important for later on.
That's true. That's true. I didn't put that together. Yeah, so there's knocking, and then we cut over to Agnes goes and approaches, what's his name, Alton Soong, saying he's working on, no, I'm sorry, this is before that. Dr. Soong is talking to Agnes, saying it takes a tremendous amount of self-sacrifice on your part, in reference to her staying and betraying Picard, and then says, but I guess that's what mothers do, isn't it? And then he leaves, which this was, the line delivery was even exactly the way Lore would have said it, and I'm salty about the way that they play out the rest of this episode. And so then he leaves, and she whispers kind of under her breath, "I'm not their mother, ass."
I'm gonna have to bleep that one, Ryan.
I know, yeah.
You can say ass, but not ass. That's how it works.
Go for it. I don't care. I'm gonna get water.
Go for it, ass.
Cursing is funny.
Especially when you're not supposed to.
I knew it. I'm surrounded by ass. Keep firing, ass.
So yeah,
that was a weird response from Girardi. I felt like we were supposed to care, but I didn't.
Yeah,
that she was
it was supposed
upset
to be this
about
moment of maybe she's really on our side. And, I don't know.
Again, she's a murderer. I would just like to remind everybody she killed their main objective in this whole thing.
Yeah, the whole scene, I feel like you're just at the end of it when she says that, you're like, wait, whose side am I supposed to be on right now?
Yeah.
Who's the bad guy?
Yeah.
So then we cut back over to the La Serena, and Narek is chucking rocks at the hull of the ship, which, you're right, makes it's weird that Rios was like, "I know that sound."
How often does he have people throwing rocks at his ship that he hears it and he immediately is like, "I know that's Narek."
I know what that is. Which also, how do they know who he is?
That's a great That's a great question.
They had no idea. They had never crossed paths. They were never in the same place. It's possible that Soji described him, but what? He's a white brunette,
more handsome
brown,
than the average.
Yeah, maybe they were like, oh, that's a really hot Romulan. That's got to be Narek.
Yeah,
but
last episode, didn't they cross paths? Didn't they have him captured?
Yeah, it wasn't directly on screen, but he was captured, I believe, while Rafi and Rios were still there and before they said goodbye. So this could be an off-screen where they see him.
Well, then they should. I don't. Because we didn't know really how Narek got into captivity at all. He just showed it was the synths that brought him.
Yeah.
So we had no reason to believe.
Did he escape before or after they left the synth building?
It was after.
It was at the very end of the episode.
He escaped after. Okay. Yeah. So they don't even know how he got out or why.
Yeah.
And so then he says something about, I've got these explosives and I'm throwing rocks, so you must have to trust me, right? Which I guess he would have known then that they were at least not in the village if he escaped afterwards, but I don't know how he would have actually known that.
Or where their ship was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, everybody makes it to different locations really easily this episode. People just showing up everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are following the Game of Thrones rules here.
The Game of Rules
The Game of Rules Thrones. But then, yeah, I feel with Riker later on, he's like the little finger of the Star Trek universe. With the timing, yeah. Well, with the timing of how he showed up.
Oh.
And how Littlefinger is always like bouncing around in like seasons 5, 6, 7.
Just appear in places.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's we'll get there because that was just weird. But also, now that I think about it, Elnor never would have crossed paths with Narek at all. Like. At no point were they in the same place at the same time, were they?
Well, there was they were on the Borg cube at the same time, and I was trying to think if they ever.
Were they on the Borg cube at the same time?
Well, he faced off with Rizzo. There was we don't know exact minutes, but yes, like he was there with Picard, and then Narek would have left after Picard and Soji left.
Yeah.
To go to Nepanthe.
So,
so there was a period of time that they were both on the Borg cube, but.
So it's really impressive that Elnor didn't just straight up kill him on the way back to the ship.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
To him, he's just any other Romulan. Maybe a little more handsome, but that's about it. Let's see, where are we then? And then we jump to inside the La Serena. Rios, Rafi, and Narek are all talking about how the synths are going to kill them all. It's all gone downhill. And then Elnor appears and tries to immediately kill him. And Rios and Rafi stop him. And they have their conversation about they might have a mutual enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sure.
Giant space snakes are coming for us.
Right. I mean, anything. I don't know.
I thought it was funny. Rafi is like, JL? Admiral Jean-Luc Picard, retired? Like, is he sitting there like, no, Rafi, you have to use my full title before I respond to you. No, I don't. That was weird.
I
Irrelevant,
really want to
but...
see Sean Connery play a Federation captain the way he would do that. Captain's Law. I saw a new... Anyway, I got a terrible Sean Connery.
You got a great Bill Cosby, though.
Do that one again. Do Bill Cosby as a Starfleet captain.
No.
Zippity zoopity, engage.
Flying the SS Puddin' Pop.
Replicator, give me the pudding pop. Give me some of that jiggly jello. Then we cut back over to Agnes is entering Alton Sung's, I'm guessing the office that he works out of. He says that he's archiving, he's trying to pull the last kind of memories from Saga so that he can archive them, and he's having trouble because they're all corrupted. She asks if he could take a look at an encrypted file because of his crypto kung fu or something that she calls it. It's not a bad line. It just feels weird in Star Trek. And he leaves the room, and she immediately plucks Saga's other eye out.
Super easy.
Really? Yeah. Just goes right for it. I mean, at least what was the chick's name? Bajazel, way back, had to use tools, right?
Yep.
This was just going right for it
with the fingers.
She didn't even wash her hands.
Pretty intense.
That's how you spread the virus.
Great. Now Saga's infected.
I don't think Saga has to worry about that.
Yeah, she's
Saga's got other things to worry about, like being dead.
Then we jump back over to another scene change for Narek, Rios, Raffi, and Elnor. They're outside now
at
around
night.
the campfire.
The
ship
sharing ghost
works
stories.
Now. The ship works, but they're
Where is this in the timeline?
What do you mean? In what timeline?
It's night.
Yeah, right.
When does this happen? There was no other time that it was even close to evening or night or morning. It's all just.
If they're gonna double down on this so hard, they wanted the ghost stories kind of scene. Why? I mean, you gotta just give them hot dogs or something. They gotta be cooking something over the fire, right? Like, they wanted this scene so bad.
But we knew that the Romulan fleet is on the way, like right now, and they're like, I would just really like a campfire, guys, before I can do anything.
And the ship works.
The ship works.
Perfectly fixed. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, we find out later on it's fine to fly, but no. First, we need a campfire.
We're gonna campfire. We're gonna talk about Gan Madan, which is apparently Romulan like hell or whatever. Is
Gan Madan hell, or is he like the?
It's a beast.
The devil.
He's the devil, right? But it's like he brings about
Armageddon,
Judgment Day, Armageddon, all the.
Yeah.
Just very bizarre. They really doubled down on kind of like this is a ghost story type thing.
Yeah, they mentioned that Taika Waititi film Ragnarok.
Yeah. Bold move of them. They're really trying to get the La Sirena in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, it already like the design of the ship looks like it would be right in the MCU.
Yeah, couldn't you picture Rios interacting with Star-Lord?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could be a Marvel character. Yeah. Only him though. Like they couldn't bring anybody else.
You don't want Raffi in the MCU?
Maybe. No, I don't want Raffi.
7 and 9 could absolutely fit into.
I guess Girardi could.
You don't want to see a scene with.
She'd be on Earth
Drax
with like Martin
and
Freeman.
Elnor.
With whom?
Drax and Elnor.
Oh, that'd be good.
I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still that I've become invisible to the eye. Watch.
That is the co-op Malab way.
If I stand really still, I've mastered the art of becoming invisible. And Elnor would just be like, "No, I can still see you.
We can still see
candor.
You. Do you think we cannot see you right now?" Yeah. That would be a funny interaction.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see that crossover.
I mean, we've got the ghost stories whole thing, and then we kind of do this slow pan up and out, and it's actually like thundering. There's just like a shot of like lightning across the sky. This scene was so out of place. Like the time of day didn't match, the tone didn't match, the location didn't match. It was just very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had to show us the lightning because that was the whole. That was the whole thing. That's how she found it was
Getting
the lightning.
built.
So they had to show us the lightning.
Yeah. But then we get this brief little cut. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was before we leave. He says at the end, "I believe it's history." He's like, "Is this a prophecy?" He said, "No, I
Right.
believe it's history." So this whole thing that they're trying to prevent happened in the past.
Yeah, the vision that they get is from thousands of years ago, from a race that was destroyed by the synthetic life, and so it's a warning.
Right. Which was, yeah.
I don't know. I don't. That was weird. I don't understand. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How do they know then that she's the destroyer if it already happened?
But it happens again. It always happens. There's always one that dies and one that destroys, I guess.
Yeah, it's the scene at the end of The Matrix Reloaded where the architect is sitting there and he's talking to Neo about how there's been so many Neos before him and it's this cycle that keeps going.
So Soji is Neo?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I guess that makes sense. She can fight like Neo. Do you think she can fly?
Oh, I'm sure they're going to show that in Season 2.
Is there going to be a scene in Season 2 where her and Narek just, like, fly into each other a bunch of times?
And here's where they're going to bring it in, because Narissa, we've been talking about how she can be everywhere at once because there's so many of her, she can copy herself, so they're going to do the whole, like, thousands of Agent Smiths versus Neo fight with Soji and Narissa in Season 2.
It's perfect. It's brilliant writing. Oh, jeez.
That wouldn't be bad.
So,
I'm picturing it, and I'm okay with that. Let's do that.
So then we get this weird little cutaway for a second of the Romulan fleet coming in hot. And we zoom in to Admiral O, or Commodore O, rather.
Sunglasses. Says, her eyes are good now.
She's just there. She's in full Romulan garb at this point. At last, our great work is nearly at an end. So, my question is this a ship full of Zhat Vash? Are these just Romulans? Are they...
I mean,
like,
I would say they're Tal Shiar Romulans. She might be the only, like, Zhat Vash of them. Because I think the Zhat Vash are, like, the elite, select few.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess
yeah,
so.
I think the only actual Zhat Vash are her, Narissa Rizzo, which is a weird name for an alien, Narissa Rizzo, and Ramda.
Which, Ramna be gone, I guess.
Yeah, Ramda's no more, but she was.
Rizzo will be back, I'm sure. And then we've got Narek as the washout, I guess, but he's still allowed to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because you know, that's how the CIA works, is like, you didn't make it to top clearance, but you still get to hang out with us.
I picture it sort of like the Navy SEALs. If you're in the Navy and you want to go to BUDS and try out, you give up your job. And then if you sign up to go to SEALs and you wash out, they just give you whatever job is available. So that's what Narek got. But he still has a pretty cool job.
I mean, yeah, he gets to sleep with the enemy and play weird mind games.
He's just a lesser spy.
Yeah. So then,
the Zhat Vash remind me of in 30 Rock, the Black Crusaders.
The Black Crusaders.
Remember the Black Crusaders? That's what the Zhat Vash are.
Tracy Jordan, the Black Crusaders are coming for you.
Yeah.
Which is like this, yeah.
Do you think Narek is a Zhat Vash? Sorry.
Is who?
Do you think Narek is a Zhat Vash washout because he showed them the ancient Borg ritual? And they'll be like, that'll never be useful.
Yeah.
He's like, guys, I've come up with a great deception. something they'll have to buy.
Take off your shoes.
Oh man. All right, so then we jump right back to the Lost Arena. Like we basically get an episode or a scene somewhere else, and then we jump right back to the Lost Arena.
Commercial break
every time. And sometimes we don't even do that. Sometimes we're just outside and then we're inside.
We're just back in, yeah.
And now they start going over the plan. Here's the plan. We're gonna act like we caught Narek, and then we're gonna bring him in, and then we get the same kind of thing they've done a couple times, where they interlace the footage of like them talking about the plan while they're actually doing it. And so we find out that they had to hide the bombs in a soccer ball, I guess, for reasons, because we saw the synthetics playing soccer and we saw Rios playing soccer, and so
we
that's
did
what we're
see
gonna
the.
do.
That's right.
Yeah, they set it up.
Yeah, they did. I was like, man, that interaction was stupid.
It's still
But
stupid.
then-
It's not better.
It's a little bit better.
Because they ask him, they're like, "You play?" And he's like,
play?
"I love the game." Okay.
No, I just like to carry the soccer ball around for all my space needs.
So in Star Trek Enterprise, the captain, whose name escapes me, had like one of his like defining traits was that he loved water polo for some reason. And so there's a couple episodes of him watching water polo, and it's so bizarre to be on a starship in the middle of space. They're visiting alien planets, and it's just like footage of the Olympics from that year or something. It takes me out of the whole sci-fi side of things. Could you imagine if part of like Anakin coming back to the Jedi Temple to slay all the Jedi, he walks into this room and they're like playing a pickup game of football? Like, wouldn't that be just the dumbest thing? And he's just, hacking people down. Like, it would take you so out of what was happening. I don't know. That's
So-
what it is every time they do something like this.
Do you mean that Andy Samberg was right when he did the song Space Olympics?
I don't. What is that? What is this?
You've
is
never
this
heard
an SNL
Space
bit,
Olympics?
or is this?
No, it's Lonely Island.
I heard a Space Jam.
No. Space Olympics is arguably better than Space. It's a parody. Like, I threw it on the ground, do the Creed.
I'm on a boat.
Yeah, I'm on a boat, spin a box. It's just one of their lesser... But Space Olympics is my personal favorite. Maybe they go to the Space Olympics.
Obviously, soccer is in it.
It'd be anyway. So yeah, they apparently just love soccer, and so they get away with it. We cut back over to
Rio should have said, when he said, do you play? He should have said, yeah, I'm the bomb at soccer. Because it's a
Soccer's
bomb.
the bomb.
Get it? Oh, soccer's the bomb. That would have been. Oh, that would have been better. Soccer's
right
the
on the
bomb.
nose.
He could have been telling them their whole plan,
Right. Yeah.
but the dude would have just been like, "Yeah."
Yeah. I'll tell. I
It
can tell
is.
if you're lying, and you're not lying.
Soccer is the bomb.
Do you think they call it soccer, or do you think they call it football? Which do you think wins out in the future?
Oh, I would.
It's
say
an American
football.
show, so soccer.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. I can see that.
I mean, it should be football, but it's
Yeah.
not.
So we cut back into the facility. Agnes is using the eyeball that she stole to get into Picard's cell, which does kind of beg the question: why did Saga have access to that room at all? I guess it's just kind of open door policy. Everybody can go everywhere.
Except,
they've got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
then why did they put a lock on it in the first place?
Well, to keep him in, I guess.
Do you think they just created that just for Picard? Like,
That there's
here's
a
a
lock
retinal
at all?
scanner.
The quantum spammer.
Or they used to lock up Maddox in there.
Oh,
But they said they've never had a
poor-
prisoner.
Yeah, which I thought about that too. Like, why did they have Picard in Maddox's office?
They refer
and
to him
not
as
anywhere else.
forced guests.
So-
It's white collar jail, white collar prison.
Yeah.
Now you stay put. You hear? Don't jump out of this window that's open.
Yeah, it's fine. You have a balcony and everything, but we're going to trust you to stand still.
Now you have to sit here and look at this picture of Girardi and Maddox kissing over and over. This will break him for sure. So Girardi comes in and she's talking about how she should be a secret agent because she can lie to hyper intelligent AI for some reason, which is such a weird, like, why was that the payoff? Was it she literally could lie to this machine that can tell minute differences in facial functions and whatnot? Or are we supposed to believe that Sutra let this happen?
Oh
'Cause
boy,
last
I don't
episode-
know because, yeah, she's not a good liar. I think it's it's pretty well established that she's kind of terrible at it, but I don't know.
I really wasn't sure what the takeaway was supposed to be. If it's supposed to be that Sutra let this happen, which doesn't really make sense in her plan, or if Girardi could somehow inexplicably just immediately be able to lie perfectly beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Unless Sutra was playing 4D chess and that she knew the only way that synths would be allowed to be back in is if there was a big gesture by a synthetic proving that they're not evil. So she had to set the synths up as evil and then get the people that were trying to stop them in a position to stop them. Because this, Soji doesn't turn the thing off, spoiler, unless Picard asks her, over and over again. So Picard had to get out so that he could be in a position to ask Soji to turn it down, thus signifying to the rest of the galaxy that synths are actually good people and freeing her people.
Wow.
Sutra,
the long game.
Sutra's the hero in all this.
Are you calling Sutra the Dark Knight?
A little bit, yeah.
She's not that synth that we want, but she's the synth we deserve.
She's the synth that we deserve, yeah.
Also interesting
I
that
could
you
see that being a pretty excellent T-shirt that nobody would understand.
Nobody would understand. The 41
interesting
people
that you
that
say
have watched
that-
the show.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that she's playing 4D chess because Star Trek is where 4D chess came from.
Yeah, and there was... Yeah, they were playing it this episode? Last episode?
Last episode.
Last episode.
Yeah. So maybe she was
It's the
playing
game of
5D
the
chess.
future.
I don't know, 6D? What do they play in the future? 8D chess?
Using all the senses.
Is that a real game? Can you actually play it?
4D chess?
Yeah, I think so.
It exists on some level. I don't know if it's the exact same as what they use in the show or not, but there's something out there that lets
With
you do
actual rules?
it. Yeah.
We should get it and play, because I'm terrible at chess, real chess, so I'm sure I'd be good at
Right. You
4D
up
chess.
the bar, and that's how you get better at things. Okay. Let's see. Back in Soong's office, we see that Alton is finally able to access Saga's memory, and she sees this footage of Narek picking up a GoPro and Sutra poking it with a hummingbird.
Gets perfectly in frame and then pokes it.
He grabs her by the head and holds her there for a long time.
Perfectly still.
She didn't struggle at all.
Maybe she thought he was going to kiss her, and he's like, oh, wow. He's hot for a Romulan. Come here, baby.
So he sees this. Why couldn't she break free? She's a synthetic. We've established they can break through, what is it, tritanium or whatever they use to build the Borg cube, and Saga just kind of stands there and gets killed, I guess. And why on earth does Sutra like stand there. This was bizarre. Like
She had to be the one to do it.
Perfectly in frame. I just
A very
give an
odd way
evil
to
smile and
to murder someone.
it was very odd.
And I liked how they
almost
put
as if they knew they were being recorded.
Right? It's
Yeah.
almost
No,
like
it did look
she
like
got
that,
caught
yeah.
on purpose. But I liked how in the footage that she was. I just thought of that theory like when I said it, so now I'm just gonna lean really hard into it. And then season 2, I'm gonna be vindicated. I liked how on the screen that he was showing it like went like the blood red like from 007, like when you got shot, it was like the blood.
Oh yeah.
Effect over the whole screen when really it should just be like half of the screen.
Can you throw the sound effect in there for that?
Oh yeah. Slappers
would be-
only. That's
That'd be excellent. Jeez. Yeah, so she dead. Then we jump back to Narek, because this is what we do. We got 2 scenes now without the gang, and so we got to go back now and find out where they are. Narek, Rios, Raffi, and Elner are all trying to break into like the where the beacon is. They're trying to plot out how do they get in there, and Alton Soong is like, "Yeah, how do we get in there?" Which was we don't really know what his intentions are at this point, but he just kind of really casually walked up and was like, "Can I join?" It's like the weird kid at school, like your friends were all playing on the playground, and then this kid just shows up and he's like, "My dad has the really cool car." Yeah, that's great.
I want to play.
Why is Narek still with them at this point? Like, they take him to the synths because he escaped. Wouldn't the synths take him at that point? Or they're just like
to put him back in.
They're just
prison.
like, "No, Rios, you and Eleanor can keep him."
Yeah, we trust you guys. You brought him back, so you could take him back to the cell yourselves.
We have your
Even though
buddy. We have Picard locked up.
No,
But you guys, you're free.
He claimed immunity under the Girardi doctrine. He apologized.
I guess so. That's a good point. They should have Narek should have been detained at that point, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Oh,
But they've never had a prisoner before, so maybe like these guys are just
they don't know what protocol is.
the guards.
well, they all
they're
knew.
like,
Yeah, he wasn't to blame because they saw the Sutra footage and they're like, "Oh, she's the real one behind all this."
oh, you think they already knew?
I don't think so. I think they just they wanted everybody to be together. Yeah. And then we jump back to the La Serena because we haven't been over there for a little while. Picard, surprisingly able to just make it across large spaces with no problems, no time difference. He's spry, that one.
Why didn't they use the La Serena, fly to the thing and blow up the tower?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
If this ship can fly, why don't just...
I guess maybe they were scared of the orchids. They didn't know how they work, and they don't know what they could do.
That's true.
Maybe they just pull it back down.
I feel, but you could fly pretty low. And
yeah,
you could...
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Weird. Then we wouldn't have got the soccer ball bomb.
And then we get a conversation between Picard and Girardi about whether the Federation or the Romulans were going to arrive first, and that it's going to be a large gap of time because reasons. We knew that the Romulans were already on their way. They had 215 ships or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
18.
The Federation's coming, right? We guess, we hope so. Fingers crossed.
The attack wing is 7 minutes from planetfall.
Any sign of Starfleet?
No, but even if your message got through, they'd still be behind the Romulans.
We've got to find a way to stall them somehow. And of course, hope that the Federation arrives.
Yeah? And then, I mean, say we do find a way to hold off the Romulans. We save Soji. Now she and the Golden Children are free to call up the Uber synths, and then Vapor and Ash, a galactic-level biocidal event.
Well, clearly we've got to stop them too.
They've left us behind, Picard. They're generations beyond us.
In one sense, yes. But in another, as you said, they are children. And until now, the only teachers that they've had are a couple of hermits and the fear of extermination. But fear is an incompetent teacher. Yes, they have life, but no one is teaching them what it's for. To be alive is a responsibility as well as a right.
How are they supposed to learn that lesson in 6 minutes and 11 seconds?
The way the children learn most things. By example. Now, let's see how closely I was watching Rios. All right.
Make it so.
And he powers the ship up, and they take off.
Which they don't even question. So last time they left La Serena, it was very broken. We had a skylight open, and they get to the ship, and they're just like, let's fly it into space now. Everything must be fine.
Did, I'm trying to remember last episode, did they see Rios and Rafi get handed the controller? I don't remember.
Yeah, Picard was there for that. Where Saga hands it to Rafi, and she's like, this will help fix your ship. It fixes things.
Yeah, and then Rafi's like, I love you, and Picard's like, awkward. Yeah, that scene.
But Picard never went, that thing is here now, but Rafi and Rios are not. He just went with it, and then he can fly, which...
Well, he'd read the script.
Which all I thought was the Rise of Skywalker. He could fly now.
Oh.
I mean, we do know about Picard that he's only concerned about the ship. He's not concerned about the pilot or the crew. It's just the ship.
True.
So he gets back to the ship and he's like, oh, good.
Oh, thank goodness my ship isn't.
Where's Rios? I don't know. Where's Rafi? Not here. Great. Even better.
The other thing about this scene is, why don't we have the pilot, the pilot AI, fly the ship?
Yeah,
there's literally
that's
an
exactly,
AI just for this.
or at least
Picard
to
is willing
help.
to. What was the Picard? What was the Rios clone's name? Was it Elmer or something?
Enoch.
Enoch, was he the pilot? Or was
Enoch
he the...
was navigational.
I don't remember. Anyway,
I think he was the navigational one.
So, but I guess he's not a pilot then. He's a navigator. But I don't know. Most other iterations of Star Trek, the navigator can fly the ship.
And I feel like a computer program probably could have that also installed. The ability to fly a plane.
And then we get the most baffling thing of this entire series to me. This takes the cake. Picard is flying the ship, and Jurati says, "Make it so."
Yeah.
So weird.
Picard is right there. Why doesn't he? Why would she even know that that's his phrase?
She doesn't.
She gives him like this knowing smile when she says it too.
She knew. Is that his catchphrase? Did they print that all over the Starfleet?
They could have all over the
pamphlets,
brochures.
Do you think he was like Uncle Sam, that he was like, make it so?
Yeah, they had some holovids where he was recruiting people, and at the end he said that.
Is this like
maybe that was
is this like one small step for man, like is that? But that's like a moment in like human history. Like we have that recorded. Do we know that John Glenn had any other catchphrases he used regularly?
Well, maybe
it was so bizarre to me.
Maybe she'd been on a ship with him for 3 weeks, a month, whatever it was. Maybe he just said it.
He just says it
all the time. Like, hey, Picard, what do you want for dinner? Do you want some? We got some leftover roast beef, or I can make lasagna. you want lasagna? And he's like, make it so. And then
Hey,
he's like,
I'm
oh,
gonna
I
go
gotta
hit
use
that.
I gotta use the restroom real quick. And he's like, make it so. He just says it all the time. So she was mocking him probably. Make it so.
I cannot believe this character that murdered somebody a couple episodes ago. We've forgiven. She's fully established as a hero now, and is taking Picard's lines. It makes no sense to me. I wish I would have so much rather Picard have this moment where he just kind of chuckles to himself. I'm flying the plane. Make it so, right? Like that he's so used to giving the commands and not flying the ship that now he's flying the ship and he's the one that has to tell, right? That would have been so much more nostalgic, so much better to me than this character that has done nothing to earn this right, saying one of Picard's most famous lines.
Do you think the writers were in the writing room and they're writing this part, and one of the writers was like, hey, do you want to piss off a bunch of Star Trek fans? And the lead writer's like, make it so.
I wish she would have just done this the whole series. Like, would they make it to the Borg cube and she's like, I am the cutest, right, Picard? It's just been infuriating the whole time. My goodness. What do you guys think? I mean, it hit me so wrong. I don't know.
Girardi comes up with a plan in a couple scenes, and that would have been so much more fitting for him to be like, make it so. At least it's giving an order-ish or approving an order. It was terribly misplaced, kind of fan service.
Absolutely.
But only to piss fans off at the same time.
Yeah. Do you have to bleep piss?
No, that's okay.
Oh. What if I said I piss? It's the action.
It's a verb.
I don't know. It could be if you're using it in the like the British term of you're drunk. I don't know.
I'm so pissed. I pissed myself.
And the
do you have to bleep that?
In the English version of Shaun of the Dead, where when the first zombies approaching them in their backyard, and we're used to them saying, "Oh, she's so drunk," but in the English cut, they say, "Oh, she's so pissed."
That's a great little.
Yeah.
Huh.
Pissed.
I didn't know that. All right. So next scene.
For me, that line, as a non-Star Trek fan, I didn't care at all. I just wanted to.
But didn't it feel weird? Like, you as a non-fan, didn't you see that and go, "Oh, that must be a Star Trek thing"?
I knew that it was. I mean, my wife's shirt says "Make it so." I knew that it was a thing. But did he say that like every episode?
It was part of like they would say, "Here's our plan, here's our course," and he'd go, "Make it so." That was his approval of whatever was happening. So it's a staple for Next Generation.
Yeah, there's a parody of Let It Snow where somebody's edited together all the Make It So's that I'll have to send you. So you can play at Christmas time. It's pretty, yeah.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, make it so. Make it so. Make it so. Man, it doesn't show signs of a stop.
Yeah, he says it a lot. And then before we end that scene, when she's like, "Oh, how are we gonna show them?" And he's like, "The way that children are often have to learn things." And I'm like, "Is he gonna say we're gonna spank him?" Because I'm like, "Is he gonna go full wrath? Like I'm gonna use La Serena to make an example?" But
well, Girardi is the mother, so
yeah.
That would be.
Picard comes back with a wooden spoon. Like, all right, this hurts me a lot worse than it hurts you.
Bad shot, Vosh. Bad.
Oh man.
Would have been a better ending.
That would have been something else.
Would have been better.
I really want that to be. There's got to be footage of him in all of Next Generation, he had to have spanked somebody, right? Like, that's got to be something. All the different times that he like lives through like a full lifetime and like raises kids of his own or something. There's all these different. There's gotta be. Anyway, I'm sorry.
You think they brought in a kid just to shoot that scene real quick? Like, all right, Patrick Stewart's gonna spank you now.
Mama needs this paycheck.
Yeah. We need it to look real, so he's really gonna hit you. I guess it was back then. Like, when was it made? The 80s? Like, that probably would have been okay. Like, oh no, that was not good.
That wouldn't have been.
We need another
the most
cut.
Questionable thing to happen in Next Generation. All right, moving on. We get Sutra addressing the synths about the beacon. It's finally happening. They're gonna get everything they wanted. For some reason, Soji's the one hacking the conduit thing, which we really don't get an answer to why it's her. We've not really been privy to. She's not learned anything or seen anything that implies that she should know this at all.
No, we don't even know what she's
it.
doing. She's playing with blocks, and she's doing a great job.
Alton shows up with the rest of the crew of the La Serena, because obviously he goes and confronts Sutra on her own after her speech, and he kind of praises her at first, which I really didn't see this next like kind of twist happening, because he's like, yeah, you saw what we needed to, you prodded them in the right direction and all this, but then you killed your sister. And so he shuts her down with a remote. Oh my goodness. Which also begs the question, because then he immediately nods to is it Girardi or Rios over there? I think it's or Raffi. I think it's Raffi he nods to. Which, if he has a remote that can shut them down, why doesn't he shut them all down?
Shut them all down! No, shut them all down!
Shut them all down! Hurry!
He can only shut Sutra off for some
Because he
reason?
still needs Soji alive so that she's doing the hacking, and then he needs her to do the unhacking. So he can't just shut her off.
The
She's the only one that can do it.
The synthetic has to be the one that's the good guy in order for synthetic life to be reintroduced.
I guess so.
It has to be
like,
Soji.
They can't have him shutting them all down and then being like, hey, they're all going to be okay. These are good people. Let's start it back up.
Yeah.
Let's give them another chance. They just
true.
tried to kill all of us, but
that's that's a cat you can't unskin.
They had to gamble with all of the entire galaxy that Soji would make the right choice. That's the only way it could work.
It's true. I was just putting that together as I was going through the notes, going, why can't he just turn them all off if he can turn one of them off? They all jump into action, and
why didn't he just throw the ball and then remote detonate it? Why did he have to open it up?
Soji to get out of the way
and
because
then,
of reasons.
Why? Why did she have to get out of the way? She's the bad guy now.
I mean, we find out why in just a second, though, because well, I mean, not quite just a second. We've got Elner and Narek are now fighting hand to hand with the synths because reasons. They could have literally stayed hidden and nothing really would have changed.
Just toss the soccer
but we
ball
needed
from the bushes.
something to happen. Elnor needed something to do in this show, so we'll have him fight. Which
that is
also
the
doesn't make
co-op
sense.
way.
Right. These are synthetics. They should all be able to bend tritanium and stuff, and we're just going to beat them in a fist fight. Nobody's armed with anything other than fists. Oh my goodness.
Armed with fists.
That's all they got. We cut over to the La Serena. Picard is struggling to fly the ship. Girardi's asking about what's the plan? What are we gonna do? And he's just completely focused on not crashing. To which also is like, that seems like a good time to have any of the holograms helping out. But,
yeah, really builds up your confidence when you're about to go into a potential battle.
he can't fly straight, but he's got maneuvers. Man. And then we jump back. Soji gets distracted by Narek one last time. She sees that he's there, and so she leaves the whatever, the conduit that she's hacking to go over to be with Narek, because this is all she does. And so then Rios sees his opening. He chucks the bomb ball, which opens up now. That was interesting. I thought they just literally stuffed the bombs inside and we're just gonna chuck it. No, it opens up.
Mm-hmm.
They chuck it, and
which means that he had this fake soccer ball.
Well, they could have replicated
or they replicate
it.
Yeah. They have that new controller thing. They could have been, I really need a ball that
a fake soccer ball.
I could picture it in my mind, and so I can make it.
That's true. All right.
Yeah.
I withdraw my comment.
Rios throws it, and she catches it and throws it into the stratosphere.
Like a girl.
Explodes.
She throws like a girl. I don't know if I can say that. Is that sexist to say? She threw that like a girl.
Well, then she goes back to...
For all women, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Wow.
You're the spokesman for all women now?
Well, I mean, on this podcast I am, I think.
That's really why I wanted her on this time, so I could make sexist comments and her sign off on them.
Run them. And so then she goes back to hacking faster than before. And she's blindingly fastly moving these cubes of nothingness. She didn't even look convinced like she knew what she would. The actress didn't seem to know what she was doing. She's just like, okay, and okay, that goes and that comes back down, and
how much?
And then I just threw the thing that blew up in the sky, and
right.
How many hours of footage do you have of her just doing this and looking worried? How long do you think she had to do that?
Oh, that was definitely a few days shoot.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things going on around that. So that was her job for a while.
Several days.
Go back
just
to hacking some more.
Stood there and waved her arms around.
Man. Oh, jeez. So then we jump back to... Actually, we jump back to the Borg cube for the first time in a long time. We get... Rizzo sneaks over. She's trying to get the weapons online. And 7 and 9 pops out from around the corner. Haha, we're going to get ourselves a good old-fashioned cat fight. And she has Rizzo throw her weapon over the edge and then gets rid of her knives, which killed Hugh, which she wouldn't have necessarily known about that from Hugh. Maybe she just intuited, I don't know. Anyway, so then immediately Rizzo knocks 7's phaser out of her hand, which, speaking of old tropes, how many times do we need to see this in shows and television where somebody's got somebody else dead to rights and they're just standing too close with a handgun, and so they get it knocked away. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's a little bit played at this point, but we needed to have this rivalry between 7 and Rizzo for some reason. Yeah. Did you guys have any thoughts about that at all?
So this scene mixed with the one where Elnor follows Narek out, it confuses me, because this leads me to believe that they knew that Rizzo was on the Borg cube. Because... Or
at least from the time that Narek came in.
Well, but a whole day has passed because we saw them at night around the campfire. So it just confuses me because they saw him either enter or leave. If they only saw him leave, then they wouldn't have known that Rizzo was there. So they had to have seen the two of them together. And then 7 of 9 just waits.
Hours. Yeah. I mean, she waited until she was distracted, I guess, would be an argument.
She has a big cube to look through. Maybe she's just looking
She
the
just
whole
finally
time.
found her.
Yeah.
Well,
Or maybe she was waiting at the weapons system because it doesn't really make sense. We don't know why they knew that Rizzo was on board at all.
yeah, they wouldn't have been looking for her. They had to have already seen her or known that she was there.
Yeah. Sorry, I got some echo there.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that was... I don't know. It felt weird that Rizzo was on board the Borg cube at all. It seemed like this should have been like about the point in the story where she beams down from like the Romulan fleet. She beams down into the Borg cube to get the weapons online or something.
Or not have her as a character at all.
or just remove her entirely. Yeah,
but then
really
who's
doesn't
Seven
change
gonna
anything.
fight?
That's true. Yeah. I will say this was a good fight.
She could fight Commodore O. Yeah, this was one of the better. This was a way better fight than anything Elnor's gotten to do.
Yeah, the fight was well done.
Do you think they cast him and then realized he just couldn't do anything?
He can't fight.
He put it on his resume that he's like got 15 years of martial arts, and it turns out it's just like elementary school. Like he's made it to a blue belt. I can't believe that they introduced a ninja character with a sword. He's had so little to do.
He doesn't even have his sword for the last 40 minutes of this episode.
Right.
He just leaves the Borg cube without his sword. He doesn't even have it.
Well, I mean, he couldn't take it with him into the. He had it when he got to the La Serena because he tries to run.
Yeah, but then when
Narek through with
he doesn't do anything with the sword at all, whether he has it or not, and then he just leaves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we see a shot of the Romulans arriving. They give the command, Commodore O gives the command to sterilize the planet, and then we also see the orchids flying out to defend the planet, which we really didn't get much of an explanation. Like all of the synths are either named after AI or named basically in memory of Data, because they're all named after like storage, because like Data and Lore, Saga,
Trilogy,
well,
Beautiful Flower.
Right, but they're either named that or they're named after flowers. Beautiful Flower.
Beautiful Flower isn't
Shoji,
even the name of a flower. Is that the actual
it's just
species of flower? That's just
Beautiful Flower.
Very descriptive.
He was the last one that they had to name, and then you're just like, Sung was just like, Beautiful Flower.
Beautiful Flower. Sure.
But then they spent some sort of time and energy building these orchids for some reason that fly out and just ground ships. But they're not really great against that because these ones fly out and get just blown apart.
They managed to take out 18 Romulan ships.
Yeah, it just
18.
Woohoo!
And
We're
they
saved.
had like 10 of them. How many flowers did they have? 10 or 11?
I guess about 18.
Yeah, they had 10 at the beginning of the last episode, and she said we're going to start making more, but we don't know.
We could
how
have
many they
12. So let's say 12 or 13. They're barely over 1 kill apiece. They would have had to have like 200 of these flowers to do anything at all.
Yeah, pretty much. And they would have had to water them and everything. That
What a
would have
ridiculous plan these flowers were. Stupid.
So then we jump back down to the Borg cube. Seven is fighting Rizzo, hand-to-hand combat. Rizzo calls her Sad Queen Annika, which it's a little bit weird of a comment. One, because I'm not really sure how she would have known Seven's name. 7 of 9 never really goes by Annika by any metric that we've got. But then Bjayzl knew her name, and Rizzo knew her name, and I don't know. It's interesting. But then she says "sad Queen Annika," which I guess is referencing the 12 seconds that she was a Borg queen. But
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that
this is a weird. She's clearly off her game in her insults this time. She's just throwing stuff at the wall.
Yeah, it was a miss.
It was a miss.
Yeah.
And then 7 of 9 handily just kicks her over the edge and says, "This is for Hugh."
This is Sparta. No, this is for Hugh.
This is for Hugh. Which we get. We get this elongated scream. So maybe she's dead, but I'm not really banking on it. I'm guessing she's coming back.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
I think she's gone. Like, she's so pointless. We've
Not
gotten
her ears though.
Huh?
Not her ears though.
That's true. Her 2 ears are the only point that she serves in the plot line. Like,
well, she got those 2 knives too.
Not anymore. She lost the knives.
Oh, she lost. Yeah, that's true.
She's just such a bland character. There's nothing interesting other than she might be in an incestuous relationship, which we don't even know. That's it. Like, that's the only interesting thing. If they're going to do a season 2 with a new plot line, there's no reason for them to bring back Rizzo.
Not especially when Narek actually had like texture to him. Like,
yeah,
he both dislikes but also sleeps with synthetics. He was supposed to be a Zhat Vash, but he's a washout. He fits more of the profile of a Romulan in the way that Star Trek knows Romulans. He's deceptive. He's kind of sneaky. Rizzo is not any of those things.
Nothing.
She is just straightforward, mustache twirling bad guy.
Yep.
And they did nothing to develop her character before she got kicked off of a cliff. Yeah.
Yep. Which is why they kicked her off a cliff.
I guess so.
Yeah.
To which then 7 of 9 deactivates the Borg weapons, which maybe she just didn't know the Romulans were out there, but it seems like a Borg cube would have been nice firepower to fight against the Romulan fleet.
She knew that they were coming because
because of the last episode. Yeah, you're right.
How many Romulan warbirds could a Borg cube take out?
It wouldn't be a match for all of them, but it would do some damage.
More than 10?
Like they've got some.
They do better than
probably
the
more than a couple orchids.
Yeah, but rather than that, she shuts it down, and that's it. That's the end of the Borg cube for us. Like, why was this thing in the story? Do we know?
No.
It
we
was
don't
just
know.
a cool setting, right? Like,
No.
Yeah.
I really thought this was going to be like the moment where 7 of 9 like turns it all around. She got to be a Borg queen for 7 seconds, and then, you know, she lost all of the Borg. Whoops. But then she redeems herself by using the Borg cube, the thing that, you know, cost her identity for so many years and all of this. She got to bring it full circle. It's now a power for good, and no, she just deactivated it out of hand and left the story until we needed her again.
Yeah, we didn't even get a Borg army.
No. Well, I mean, we did, and they got sucked into the vacuum of space.
For a second.
Yeah. Also, that's like an I don't know if we covered that in the episode that happened, but like the Borg can survive in space. It's documented. It's in like First Contact. The Borg are outside of the Enterprise, walking in space just fine. So you just
have millions of Borg just floating in space. Like, well, this sucks.
Apparently 7 of 9 just left out there. She didn't bother to pick them up. She's like, you'll still be here later, right?
Maybe that's why Rizzo beamed back to the Borg cube. Because she got in her ship to fly away, and there were just too many Borg all over it. She's like, dang it!
Her windshield wipers are
splattering on the windshield like bugs.
She's like, I gotta go back. There's a real bad Borg rain today. Jeez. So they deactivate the weapon, and then we jump back to the La Serena. They're trying to figure out what their plan is, and Girardi's just spitballing about, we got to do something. You could do, if you could take on all these Romulans, they'd have to name the maneuver after you, the Picard maneuver. Wait a second, that's a thing.
She knew all about it too.
She knew all about that too. It's like, why does Girardi know all of this information about Picard?
Everybody in the show
doctor.
knows everything there is to know about everything all the time.
Right. In the episode that they introduce the Picard maneuver in The Next Generation, they have to explain what it is because most of the crew didn't have any idea what it was. And they're in Starfleet on his ship. Girardi is...
And it only happened like maybe 5 to 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. It was very recent. It was a big deal when it happened. But then, when it's the most pertinent, people didn't... They had to explain what it was. And then now Girardi just... She knows everything there is. Because this show is named after Picard, and we have to hail him as the hero that he is. And so characters will just know things they have no right to know.
Maybe she got a briefing from Commodore O about everybody she'd be working with, and she's like,
if
now,
you can work in Make It So somewhere, that'd be great.
The main character is Picard, best known for the Picard maneuver. And then they explained it. Maybe that's why she knows.
Oh, gosh. And so then... That's when the controller thing comes back into play. She starts spouting Star Trek kind of sci-fi jargon about how we would have to have this, that, and the other, and then picks up the thing that she needs. And then turns around and activates it, and there's like 15 of her face.
She's like, it didn't crash right then.
Right. I would have loved to
You
have
think his
seen
parietal
Picard
lobe
just...
is like... doing him in.
Oh gosh, she's here to murder me. I knew it would come to this.
So we can guess that. So she was there with the little exchange there between Raffi and Saga when they got the tool, right?
Girardi was?
Was Girardi there?
I don't think so.
So she picks it up, not knowing what it is, has an idea, and then
immediately does it.
But knows that she's going to make it happen.
She made it so.
She doesn't accidentally make it happen because it's what she's thinking about.
That
She
would've been
knows that it's going to happen, and she gives like this knowing smile. Oh, like this? But she doesn't even know what it is.
Even later, Picard's like, they're all going to have warp signatures, right? And she confidently says yes.
Absolutely.
That is... Okay.
That, like, see, this is where we needed the holograms to be able to, like, help this out a little bit. Like, why does Girardi know anything about any of this?
Well, so when she picks it up and she's like, we need a neuro-replicating transmitter whatchamahooza gadget, it seemed like she was saying, like, oh, if only we had this, and because it came from Saga, it's believable that Maddox made it and she did know what it was. Is that possible?
I
don't
doubt
know.
it. I don't.
I feel like
guess
that's
so.
a stretch.
I think the way simpler option would have been when Soong gets her started, like, working. He hands her one that's like a red one, and so she's working on the synthetics with one of those. So she then sees this purple one and goes, ah! So the audience knows it's a different one than the red one that she had earlier, but she has been seen using it before. But anyway, either way, we've got our MacGuffin Picard
Once again,
maneuver.
use your imagination to make this scene work.
It's clever in that way. The characters use their imagination, so you can use your imagination.
Yes.
They really
on
want
this
you to experience the show in real life.
Yeah, go on
Feel
this
like you're a
journey
part
with
of
us.
Also, it must take a long time for this sterilizer thing to heat up because O gave this command a while ago.
Yeah, they gotta lock their weapons and amen. It's a process. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. So then we get a scene where Picard hails Soji down on the planet. She can answer it because that's what all conduits have, is an answering receiver, right?
That's what the block was for.
Yeah, he tries to convince her. He tells her that he has something he wants to give her, and to give her people, and he hopes it'll change their life or change their mind. And she says, "What's that?" And he says, "My life." Picard.
Then he hangs up.
He hangs up, and then she on the other end is like, "Don't care. We're literally going to kill all of you anyways."
And then Girardi's like, "Wait, what?"
See, this would have been a great point for Soji to say, "Make it so."
Or just a second earlier, when Girardi finds out how to use the device, she turns to Picard and goes, "Make it so." That would have been. I would have taken that one even. But yeah. Anyway. Geez.
What does he mean by "I'm going to give you my life"?
I think he thought they were going to get shot a lot of shooting.
But what does that matter to her? What does that matter on the grand scale of this plan? Why are they like, "Oh, Picard's dead now, can't move forward"?
He's just like willing to sacrifice himself to give them some more time.
It's kind of codependent in some way. Like, if you won't be my friend, I'm just gonna kill myself, and then you'll love me.
Well, and he spent like the whole first episode after he met her just insulting her, and now he's like, "I'm gonna give my life for you," and she's like, "Good."
Great.
Yes, I don't have a good history with you. I don't really know you that well. If you were Riker, maybe. Yeah. So then we jump to we jump back to O, and she says she gives the command to use sterilization number 5, which most of the internet has been commenting. There are 5 ways to sterilize a planet.
At least.
That's at least right. I would have loved to have seen a dial that goes up to like 35, and he's like click, 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 click.
Well, there's at least 66 of them, because Palpatine uses the 66th one.
Order 66.
Yeah, to sterilize the Jedi.
It's true.
So then we get the Super Picard maneuver, is what I'm coining that one, where you can just call in as many ships as you want because you have the magic remote, and it's going to really confuse everybody you fight because they all have warp signatures, and rather than O having half the forces deal with the dogfight and the other half just take care of the business they were going to do, she immediately is like, "No, everybody change your targets. Everybody, we've got to focus on these tiny little craft that don't have the firepower to put a hole in our shield." And it goes pretty well for them, actually. They do a pretty good job for a while, and then they get hit once, and immediately all of the holograms disappear.
Yes, that's how it works.
Girardi stops picturing what they need.
Yeah, and
she was distracted by the threat of blowing up.
Which it's probably fair.
That is fair.
To which we get Soji on the planet watching this. She goes, "No!" So we know that she really cares about Picard.
Oh, man, but she wanted to kill everybody.
I wish one of the other synthetics would have like, tapped her on the shoulder and been like, "Hey, do you need to just go watch this while we continue to hack? Because, you're kind of slowing things down over here."
No one else knows how to build the blocks.
So they recover. The ship kind of stabilizes, and it's clear that Picard's parietal lobe is acting up again. He's disoriented and struggling. Then we jump back to Soji finishing up the beacon. So she was really concerned about Picard for that half second, but then she's still not going to do anything about, not killing him herself.
Yeah, maybe that's why she's worried. Like, she wants to kill him.
She's like,
she wants.
I wanted that kill.
You have to stay alive for me to kill you.
She wanted to do it herself.
I see, yeah. So then we get a sky beam. Every sci-fi show has to have a sky beam, right?
With a portal to another world.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it the space butthole.
Yeah, they're gonna send Iron Man up in there with the missile.
Yeah, right. So then the portal's opening up, and we get another shot of O, reminding everybody again that we should probably get on this sterilization thing that we've been here for 20 minutes not doing. And then guess what, guys? Guess what happens next?
They all
you
die.
Didn't see this happening. We got the on your left moment.
What?
Yeah.
We did.
What?
Yes. Wasn't this impactful and completely out of nowhere?
Never saw it coming.
Nobody saw this coming. All these.
It was really telegraphed in the previously on. They show the brief scene between Picard and Riker, and I'm like, all right, so Riker's gonna show up.
Yeah, it's.
They did that. I don't like shows that do serial shows like this that do previously ons, because they'll do a callback to like 5 episodes ago, and you're like, oh, so we're gonna resolve that. When they flashed back to the Doctor, which I already knew, but with the Doctor telling him about his parietal lobe, like I knew that he died right then.
Spoiler.
And then I noticed the drawing. Speaking of the flashback, and this isn't relevant or important, which I feel like most of my comments are in that category of irrelevant and not important. But the drawing of Rios that his captain did with Rios and
I think Beautiful Flower
John,
did it.
Whatever, whoever did it, of Rios and Jana. Rios looks more like Charlie Day than Rios.
Oh.
That's a good observation.
Yeah, it's very important.
I also like the idea that it was the captain that drew the picture. He's just like do. All right, now it's time to get some killing.
Time to kill you. He likes to draw all of his
draw
victims.
all my subjects, before I kill them.
Yeah.
He wasn't gonna kill Beautiful Flower, but Beautiful Flower was like, no, and jumped in front.
He had to kill him. Yeah.
Guys, Riker showed up. Isn't it amazing? We never saw that coming.
Unbelievable.
General or Commodore or whatever you're calling yourself. Right now, I'm on the bridge of the toughest, fastest, most powerful ship Starfleet has ever put into service. And I've got a fleet of them at my back. We've got our phasers locked on your warp cores. And nothing would make me happier than you giving me an excuse to kick your treacherous Talsiar ass. But instead, I'm going to ask you one time to stand down.
I still enjoyed it, even if
I did.
It was...
I wrote in the notes. I was like, man, I enjoyed this. Picard at the helm of a ship is great. I just watched an episode this week of Next Generation where Picard does like it's like a exchange student program with Starfleet, where he goes and serves on a Klingon ship.
Yeah.
I just watched that episode last week, and I was like, yes!
It's a good episode. It's a good Riker episode. But basically, he serves on board a Klingon vessel for a period of time, and he goes over as like their stand-in first officer. And he ends up usurping the captain to take control of the vessel himself, and because he's still loyal to the program and what it stands for, and like that he wants to prove that he is part of the Klingon crew. He hails the Enterprise as like a Klingon, and like threatens Picard. He's like, "You surrender now."
Oh
And
yeah,
Picard
I watched
rolls
that
his
part
eyes.
with, when Kaylee was watching it. I watched that.
Yeah.
I saw that scene. I was confused as to what happened, and I didn't care enough to ask. But that's interesting.
Why is he on that weird ship? Why isn't he making pizza? I don't understand. Where's his daughter?
He doesn't have the high foot lunge. No, this scene definitely gave me the same like feels as that scene in that episode when Riker hails Picard.
Yeah.
It made me want more Riker. Like, I really liked him on Nepenthe, and then seeing him in space, not that he really did anything, but seeing him as part of Starfleet, like, I wish we would have had more, and maybe we will, maybe season 2.
I'm thinking so now that he's like back in Starfleet, at least for the time being.
Yeah. So he jumps in. Commodore, he says that the Federation is claiming this planet, and Commodore O is like, no, we claim this planet. And then Riker shows Commodore O Picard's Instagram feed and says, no, we were here first. We called dibs. Okay. I guess that's good enough.
Do the Romulans abide by the ancient rule of dibs?
Apparently they do.
Is that sacred?
Old and favored.
Is that sacred to them?
Like it.
Yeah, I
it
guess
seems
so.
to be. It seems to be the way that things operate.
Interesting.
Picard called dibs.
Picard called dibs.
Maybe
like, oh, rats foiled again.
Maybe that's why Rizzo's on the Borg cube. Is that originally they had a scene where that O pulls up a video of Rizzo and she's like, "We call dibs."
They got to look at the timestamp.
That would have actually been more interesting than anything Rizzo got to do in this show. It's just pictures of Rizzo on the planet taking selfies.
Selfies with a clock behind her.
Look. There's this like couple scenes of like their data speeds on their phones, like which is gonna upload faster. It's like 98%.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then
that would have been great.
Rizzo's kicks over to 3G, and she's like, "Oh, I should have got the LTE plan."
good brand integration. Yeah. I mean, they missed a chance here.
Could have.
So we get this great triumphant on your left moment, right? Just like in Star Wars, just like in Endgame, everybody's here to battle.
It's like when Gandalf shows up at Helm's Deep.
Yeah. It's all of those great scenes, except they don't actually do anything. They just stare at each other.
They do even less than the Fleet in The Rise of Skywalker does. Even less, which is hard. It was a very low bar, and somehow they didn't even pass it.
They do less than Elnor has this whole season.
They're sitting there. They're ready, shields up, and all this stuff. And so then we jump back to the La Serena. Picard is he's not doing so hot. He's like grabbing the back of his head. He asked Jurati to give him some sort of medication to stabilize him. She's clearly hesitant. She knows this is not. This is just a temporary fix, and that he's not going to make it if they don't get help. And so he convinces her to give him the medicine, just long enough that he can get a message out on an open channel. Which I'm not. He had just sent her a message just a little bit earlier. Did we get any sort of reason to believe that she couldn't receive another message?
No, because
I don't think so.
He's the one that, I don't know, swiped left on her or whatever.
He hung up, right?
Yeah.
So he sends this on an open channel, which is good for the plot. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense otherwise.
It leads me to believe that he wanted everyone else to see her change.
Yeah. He clearly wanted them to see the conversation.
I guess so. Which kind of culminates to this, we didn't kill you so that you don't have to kill us. We believe in you. I don't know. It wasn't my, like, for this to be like the ultimate like Picard speech. This one was kind of a miss for me. It didn't really like land on anything. It was just kind of like I could have killed you, but I didn't, and so now you could kill me, but you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I like the "that's why we're here to save each other" line, because that goes back to the conversation that Soji has with Riker's daughter.
Kestra.
Yes. So that mirrors that, which I appreciated that they brought that back in.
Mm-hmm.
But his speech conveniently leaves out the other third of this, is in that his closest allies just threw a explosive soccer ball at her.
This is true, yeah.
It wasn't at her per se.
It was.
Do you think she knew that? I mean, it was really dang close to her.
She got it.
Pulled it out of her
easily.
hand, like she used the force and grabbed it. Seemed like.
So then we get this next scene. We jump back to the space butthole, and it's got worms. Oh gosh, this is terrible.
It's a space dog with worms.
The space, right? Ew, my goodness. Why would anybody think that robot worms is a good idea?
What were they supposed to be? Aren't these like extraterrestrial higher AI? Are these spaceships being flown by the super
There's
sense?
no precedent for this. I have no response for what these are supposed to be.
Other than they looked like the snake things that the Avengers fought in New York.
Oh yeah, kind of like the Chitauri, like big old whatever they are.
Whatever they are. Yep.
Yeah, kind of that. I mean, they basically were just like, what does robot hell look like? Oh, it's got to be like
worms and stuff.
Snake things. Yeah. Could you make it look more like a butthole? Yeah.
Do you think that Soong's synths were like, well, we have flowers, and then these super synths are like, we have worms?
The next synthetics, the neighbors down the road, they've got robot birds. It's a whole menagerie.
I would take the birds
not
over
very
the
intimidating.
flowers and the worms.
Yeah, well, see, they win, right? That's the point.
Oh, they win. Okay, all right.
Right.
I'm tracking.
And then the next synthetics down the road have robotic house cats.
Oh wow,
Man, yeah,
they're really good.
It just keeps going. Actually, that would be great
that's
because that would
Data.
be like that'd be like Voltron. Actually, the next neighbors are just Voltron.
They're just Voltron.
Yeah. So we got the space butthole worms, and at the last second, Soji destroys the beacon.
Travis
She's
is
had
just
a
thinking
change
about
of
how
heart.
much he's going to have to cut out of this. It's like, we got to lose this whole section.
Oh no.
Please keep space butthole. Please.
With Doc Ock's arms trying to get through.
That's exactly what they look like, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
He's trying to find Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's a weird crossover that they picked.
That's how they're gonna get all these characters in the MCU.
There are worse ways to do it. I guess that makes sense. I would have also accepted Bugs Bunny poking his head out. He's like,
That's
"Hey,
all,
what's
folks.
up, Doc?"
Yeah.
Oh man, we gotta play soccer against these ones. It's the lead into the next Space Jam.
Yeah.
Space Jam. They've already filmed Space Jam 2.
Did they? Is it actually done? Is it a real
I
thing?
feel like yeah, with LeBron James.
They've been rumoring it for just so long at this point. I don't know that it's.
I think it's.
I don't know if
I think
it
it's been
wraps.
done.
All right.
It's not important.
I guess I'll believe it when I see it. Let's see. So then, the Romulans see that the beacon was destroyed, and that's apparently good enough for them. They just kind of peace out from there. Riker's like, "We'll escort you guys out," and they're like, "Nah, we've got this," and he's like, "No, it's no problem," which he doesn't do.
So Riker, knowing that Picard is dying, and then Picard and Jurati knowing that they've
I
just
don't think
administered.
he knows that he's dying.
Well, he knows that there's an issue, but then
Back on
but then,
Nepenthe.
yeah, more so, Jurati and Picard having just administered an accelerant to his condition are like, sure, yeah, Starfleet, you head out. It's all good. Why weren't they like, can you just stick around for like.
You've got doctors on board,
You
right?
just got here. Can you stick around for like 10 minutes just to make sure everything. Because they don't know what's going on the ground. They have no idea.
Yeah.
They have no clue.
Right. I mean, Picard was pretty much done. He knew what he was doing. He was.
But they
he
couldn't
was
have.
giving
They
his
couldn't have
life.
Starfleet just like, look, just stay here for a minute, please. Just stay here.
Do a once over anything.
Wait till we give the go. But nope, we're just gonna peace out.
Hey, these synths just tried to destroy all of us. They shut the portal, but they might open it again.
Yeah, we're good.
Nah, they're not gonna do that.
There's no reason to believe they won't just turn it on again. But
Yeah. So the Romulans leave. We get this conversation between Picard and Riker. And Picard actually addressed. I didn't think they were gonna address it, but Picard says, "What am I supposed to do? Just sit in the woods making pizza?" Which was great. And then Picard responds with, "Thank you for always having my back," which I thought was just very sweet. I thought Riker was the most genuine Star Trek character in this whole the whole series this season. Picard had a couple moments where he felt like himself, but overall, Riker just felt like Riker all the way. And then the Federation leaves. Did the Federation follow the Romulans out? Is that what we're supposed to believe?
I think they each went their separate ways.
That's what I thought was happening, which was also weird to me. That's like one ship can't stay behind to check this out.
Yeah,
What's
they
to
can't
stop
leave
the
a
Romulans.
Yeah,
the Romulans could just turn
fleet.
around.
Yeah.
right, they leave prematurely.
Yeah. It's interesting to me. And then Picard ends up on the ground. He's clearly not got long. And so then Soji back on the planet beams him down, him and Jurati down. He's so proud of her because she chose to not be the destroyer, which does harken back to kind of their conversation earlier about to say you don't have a choice is a lack of imagination, or whatever that quote is. To say you have no choice is a failure of imagination.
Yeah.
And he says he sees Elner, and he's like so happy to see Elner again because reasons, I guess.
Which I
don't know.
I just have a quick question here. How did they get the La Serena back?
The NHs they fly it back is what I instantly thought.
Well, because
the AI fly it back, yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
But then that would mean that the AI are active, and we have no reason to believe that. And does Rios just like call up his ship and be like, "Hey guys, come pick us up"?
I guess so. I don't know.
Well, I had asked that
Sure,
in the
why not?
first episode or second episode when we meet him. Like, this guy's a one-guy crew. What does he do if he needs to go to Earth? So clearly he's got a system in place for him to deboard and leave the ship by itself.
Yeah.
Maybe.
To which we're basically, this is it. This is Picard's death.
He tells Rafi, "You were right. After all."
So what do you guys think he meant by that?
About
the
the
conspiracy.
Romulans?
Yeah, that would have to be it.
But didn't Picard also believe that it was, like, he didn't doubt her, did he?
But he didn't necessarily support her all the time.
It was sort of like more affirmation that she lost everything in her life, but at least it was she was right about it. Or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what they were really alluding to on this one.
But, Picard dies, and the credits roll. And that's it. That's the end of
sad.
That's the end of the show. No more Picard.
So I want to point out here that Picard dies, everyone's around him crying, including Girardi. She killed Bruce, who she was in a relationship with, just straight-faced. But this man that she's apparently creeped on because she knows his catchphrase, he dies.
Well, she was in hysterics when she killed Maddox.
Yeah, she was crying.
It wasn't straight-faced. She was, yeah.
I feel like she shows a little more emotion, though, when Picard dies compared to Bruce.
Yeah.
Maybe she loved Picard.
I guess so, but she was supposed to have loved Maddox, too.
He made her cookies. Picard never made her cookies.
Yeah, shouldn't she be just racked with guilt at this point, knowing that she was wrong, that she killed Maddox for no reason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that this was all preventable?
Everybody is just pretending like it didn't happen, including her. Like, the murder was never it just never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would it have changed anything dramatically if Maddox had lived?
Who's to say? I do not know.
Because they would have still needed to go to the Borg cube. Presumably, they would have needed to still escape from the Romulans, which would have led to Nepenthe anyway.
We couldn't have the romance between Girardi and Rios.
It would have been a little more uncomfortable, at least.
And I feel like that's really, a crucial relationship moving forward is those two.
Their love of each other.
Yeah, it's very impactful and meaningful to me personally, and we wouldn't have had that. We would have been robbed of that.
Would we have missed out on anything if Bruce Maddox just wasn't in this at all?
He told them where to go. He told them where...
He was right, yeah. That Soji was on the artifact.
Yeah. But we could have found that out another way, like an email or anonymous
on a moving picture.
Anonymous phone call or something.
Yeah. It would just... I don't know. Alright, so then we move on to... We kind of see the crew, how they're dealing with the death of Picard. We get the scene with Raffi, or not Raffi, 7 of 9 and Rios, who haven't really had any screen time up to this point, have they? They would have seen each other for 7 of 9's episode with Bjayzl, and then they would have seen each other for a minute on the Borg cube on the planet. But other than that, have they had a scene together?
No.
No, I thought this scene where the two of them are sharing just feels pretty misplaced because of that. They have no previous relationship.
Yeah. No, I do not believe they've met or had a scene together other than that.
Well, it's what I said at the start, where they just expect us to make these leaps in friendship and make it seem impactful without earning it from us at all. And then the next scene is Elnor and Rafi crying together. I don't. Why? Why?
Elnor has pretty much worn his heart on his sleeve the whole time. He's always been just like, he always seemed to be very the emotions run just below the surface for him.
Well, that is the Coatmalat way. But like, there was no friendship with Rafi.
For Elnor and Rafi.
Yeah, for Elnor and Rafi.
But
if anything, it should have been 7 of 9 and Elnor, and then Rafi and Rios.
Right.
Yeah, that would have made more sense.
It would have made a lot more sense.
But
I was really confused why they chose these two pairings. I think they really want Rafi to be like the mama of the ship. She kind of, let mama wipe your tears away.
I'll make you some cake.
Yeah, right. I'll replicate you some cake. Because she's had that moment with several of the characters at this point.
Yeah.
But then I guess it was just kind of 7 of 9 and Rios are the two like hard ass characters. And so, would you have to bleep that? Oh no.
No, not that.
Not
I wouldn't say so.
Do it anyway.
Do it.
Make it so.
I think that was just, they were trying to have these two characters, okay, they would both deal with things about the same way, and I don't know. I did like 7 of 9's like antifreeze drink that she's got.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool, drinking it out of like a flower vase. It was interesting. I'd if I saw that at the supermarket, I'd probably buy it.
I would buy one. Yeah.
Not a lot of them. Probably not.
Should
a
market
regular
it.
thing.
Yeah. Put it out.
Yeah.
See what they can get.
So you guys didn't like the Rafi and Elnor scene? You didn't feel like that was?
No, I liked it.
Yeah.
I appreciated it.
It was fine. It was just like the rest of the friendships that, like, these leaps in the relationships that they took from the start of the episode with Narek and Rios and Rafi, and then Elnor and Narek, and then 7 and 9. Like, they were just making us believe that these people are better friends than they've ever shown us them being.
Yeah.
That was my issue.
I agree. So we got an answer a week or two ago that this whole process has been about 3 weeks plus a couple days now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are all people that more or less, like, we know Rafi and Rios had met each other before, but none of them had met 7 of 9, and none of them had met Elnor. And most of those, Elnor and 7 of 9 were both met in transit too. So it had been time since then even.
Yeah, and 7 and 9 wasn't around very long.
Right. I'm just curious. Well, we're not going to get any like behind the scenes. Next season isn't going to tell us little things about like what happened on the ship or anything. It's just
they do like
they
flashbacks.
Want us to believe that they do like flashbacks.
They like the flashbacks.
Yeah, Picard's gone, and we still don't really know what was important about Mars or why. It inspired the synth ban, I guess. But
yes, that was it.
Did we ever get an explanation as to why the Romulans who were in dire need of help chose then to attack the synthetics that got the synths banned, that stopped Romulus from receiving any more aid?
No. We don't know specifically why they chose to do it then. I mean, other than that's back then is right when that's when Narissa and Ramda got the vision. That's when they experienced the, what do you call it? But that's when they got that, and that's when they decided to go and do it. Yeah, the admonition. But, I mean, I guess doing it at that time was just a good cover. Like, who would ever suspect the Romulans of doing it when... when they're in such need.
I guess so. Perfect cover, I suppose.
It worked.
Yeah. All right, so now we're moving into the wrap up. We get a fade to black, and we come back, and we see this room in tones of gray, and Picard sitting in front of a fire, and he comments, "Another damn dream," which we saw a couple of his dreams like early in, but we really haven't seen one of these dreams from him since the second episode,
because,
right?
Yeah, no, I mean, not even in the second episode, because Brent Spiner was only in the pilot. He wasn't in the second episode. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
The dreams served their purpose for what they needed to drive the plot forward. And then they stopped having dreams.
Yeah. So he said another damn dream, and then we hear Data say no. To which we get this nice conversation between Data and Picard talking about that Picard is actually dead.
Yeah.
That he's gone. And we talk about Data's death. He says, I know the star date. I know that I died this year. And that I was uploaded into B4. And it's just this really kind of sweet interaction. This whole season has relied pretty heavily on this relationship between Picard and Data. And I mean, I don't know how recently any of you guys have watched Nemesis, but Nemesis is the movie that Data dies in.
Spoilers.
And it's fairly unceremonious. Like it's a big deal, but like you don't really get this decompression, and the kind of the idea is that at the end of the day, there was a backup of Data's memory on the Enterprise, and so they had this other positronic Noonien Soong model B4, and they tried, oh, you know what, we can save him, we can bring him back, we'll give it a try. B4 is a prototype, but you know, he might be able to, we might get Data back, right? And they upload him, and it doesn't work. It doesn't take. He's not able to process Data's memories. But then, kind of I think it's at like the very end of the movie, B4 starts humming a tune that Data wrote specifically for Will and Diana's wedding. And so it's left on this kind of hopeful note that, oh, maybe after some time B4 we'll be able to use these memories, that it'll kind of all fall into place. Maybe Data's not really gone. And so that's where the series had kind of been left off for a long, long time. And this is the first kind of response to that. And I did actually really appreciate this dialogue back and forth. They talk about Picard talks about how he wishes it would have been him to sacrifice himself instead of Data back then, and Data kind of looks at him confused and says, do you regret sacrificing yourself here, like for Soji and her people? And Picard is like, absolutely not, of course this is what I would do every time. And Data is like, then why would you think any different of me sacrificing myself here? Which I thought was sweet. It adds some closure to Data's character that we just never really got before this. But I am curious for you specifically, Joel, how this scene hit you, because it's not something you really have history with.
Didn't care.
So none.
It fell pretty flat, huh?
I mean, I understood what was going on, but then the fact that he said it's a simulation, so it's not even Data that he's talking to. It's a simulation based on the memory that they had or something. So it's not even him. He's just talking to a computer.
I'd say it's basic. I mean, that's what Data is anyway. So it's like being with Data, but you're inside the Matrix instead of being in the real world.
So at the beginning, Data explains to Picard that they're in a massively complex quantum simulation, and then later on, Data says that he is a massively complex quantum reconstruction made from a copy that I downloaded into B4. So that leads me to believe, since those same words were used twice, that it is actually Data, or at least
for all intents and purposes.
The copy.
It's a simulation of Data.
Well, no, he's in the simulation, but it's he's talking to like his actual like personality.
It's the copy of Data that he's talking to. So basically, it is Data that he is talking to here.
The simulation is just the setting.
Right.
So it's Data on the holodeck.
Yeah, I know that you guys talked about, them having these conversations if synthetics were real people or they not. And to me, I just kept picturing a droid. That he's a droid. And it really, like, when they wipe C-3PO's memory in the Rise of Skywalker. In the Rise of Skywalker, as a fan who would love Star Wars forever, I was like, oh, well, he's a droid. So that's what happened. And I didn't even, like, it didn't even hit for me, like, because that's all I was thinking of, is that he's just a computer.
Yeah. So when
I was gonna say, when R2 gives him his memories back, so I guess you don't see, C-3PO is a character though. So do you feel like?
Well, he is, but then like I started thinking about how I would feel about it in my life, and I know that we don't have that. Like I have Google Assistant where I can be like, okay, Google, light off, and it'll turn the light off in our living room, where I could set a timer for 5 minutes. I know it's more advanced than that, but that's basically what he is.
So would you feel the same way if Soji died at this point then?
Yeah, I wouldn't care if Soji died. I wouldn't care if anybody in this series died.
So, based on that, like now with Picard going forward, is Picard even a person to you now? Or is he...
Oh.
Again, spoilers.
I think we're there. I think anybody that made it this far...
Probably,
because he was recovered the same way that they recovered Data.
But that seemed like more of a direct transfer. Again, I don't care about Data. Like, you asked me my opinion, and then you're arguing with why my non-Star Trekian opinion is wrong, which I get. Like, I get what you're saying. I just, as a non-fan, it just did not care at all. It's a very weird death and send-off for a computer.
Okay. I could see that.
So, for me, a Star Trek fan, I wasn't a huge fan of this scene. Really? I thought it was, like, there was a lot about it that was super awkward. Like, Data asks Picard, says something along the lines like, if you ever even dream of me, which is a weird thing to say, and Picard's like, I dream about you all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Oh,
that's a weird exchange, and that's a weird thing for Picard to say. Just Picard's character, I felt, was really weird. And then they have a weird conversation where Picard's like, I loved you. Does that change anything? And Data's like, it has some significance. Does that mean to you? Anything to you? And Picard's like, yes. Yes, it does. So, like...
Yeah, it did feel a little bit forced. I agree 100% on that.
There's a couple, like, awkward exchanges that just... I don't know, it doesn't feel fitting to their characters, and I wasn't a big fan of. Yes, there's some sweetness there between, like, when Picard and Data are talking about, like, wish it was you instead of me, that exchange. But just overall, I felt it was really weird.
Travis, how did you feel?
No, I liked it. But I did not like the fact that, like, all right, now let's finally kill this character that we didn't really officially bring back until right now. That we've been like, all right, this character's been dead for, almost 20 years, and let's bring him back just to kill him. It's like when they find Dr. Soong in Next Generation, Data and Lore both find him, and he's been presumed dead for all these years, and like, oh, but he's back, and they kill him in that episode. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
what? Okay.
Or like they spend half a series looking for Maddox, and then he's dead. In
that episode.
In one episode.
So let me run this by you then. What if the beginning of this series was Picard receiving a message from Data, hey, I have a daughter on Earth, you need to find her. Picard goes to find Daj, and then loses, right? Like he doesn't, he fails to save her, and that's what sets him on this trek. Would that have been a more book-ended thing of, like, most of the season is shrouded in mystery of whether Picard actually received this message from Data or not? I think in this timeline you do bring Lore into it, although it's not a secret. You find out halfway through the season when we're looking for Maddox that Maddox is working with Lore, so then Picard is dealing with, maybe this is Data's ghost, or maybe this is Lore trying to trick me, and you have like that kind of a thing. It leans more into Star Trek. You don't have this weird, like, oh yeah, Data's been in this fishbowl all this time.
Yeah, no, I would have liked that. I would have liked, yeah.
Is Data real then?
Data is, what do you mean?
In your timeline, do they have like a body for him?
Probably not. So like Lore being part of it would mean that, like, he doesn't want Data to come back to his body, but he does see the value of, like, Data's consciousness, and that's the crux of the work between Lore and Maddox. Like, you actually have a reason for Data to be present. You have a reason for Lore to be an antagonist, but not like Rizzo, mustache twirling, evil kind of one. And then you actually get to have, so I think they cut Lore. I think Lore was probably part of this until they cut him to bring in this other son of Soong, for lack of time to explain it. But this way, halfway through, we find out Maddox has been working with Lore. Now Picard has a reason to exposit all over Jurati or whoever about who Lore is and why he's important, that it was the brother of Data and all of that. And so it's established within this season, rather than, we've had two like weird surprises now of, hey, Dr. Noonien Soong had a son that we've never heard of before and had apparently been a well-established person. He's done all these things, and he's gone into cybernetics like his father, which I only realized later that Maddox on his deathbed was talking about my work and Soong, like they're perfectly imperfect. Me and Soong and Jurati worked on it. He's talking about
the new one,
son.
Yeah.
But we had no idea. That's not a tell. That's not a great telegraph. That's just confusing for no good reason. Like, I don't know. I think it was a swing and a miss.
I will agree with you there. We can agree on.
I do find it interesting that they had Data, they had this copy of Data that they just stored forever, and they had the capability of building a new one, and they never did.
They literally have bodies sitting around. They could have put him in. They've been building bodies for apparently a long time. Why didn't they give Data a body?
Well,
that's one of the hugest holes in this whole thing.
And before Picard leaves this conversation with Data, Data says something about like, well, Dr. Sung, Jurati, and Soji took your brain and they put you into this body. So that means that he's aware of everything that's happening around him. That would be the only way that he would know. So you have Data.
That Data can,
who is fully functional and aware that he's sitting in the middle of a lab.
I'm in a box.
Just never put him in a body.
Yeah.
That's why he wants to die. He's like, Picard, kill me.
God, please kill me.
End me.
But so you, instead of this weird son of Sung, we have Lore instead, and so now you have a reason for Data to be kept in the box. Lore doesn't want Data to have a body. He wants him to be... He needs him because his positronic network, whatever Star Trek you want to throw at it, is more advanced than Lore's, and so they need it to be able to create this race of synthetics.
Lore was more human than Data, though.
Right, but that's why he needs him, because Lore is very aware that Sung thought Data was more complete than he was.
But only because...
It was originally, when they originally introduced Lore, it's presumed that Lore was more advanced than Data.
Yes.
And then in another episode they flipped that, and Sung's like, no, actually Data is like the more, developed one. And so Data's like running it over. He's like, oh, I am not like, I forget his wording, but he's like, I'm actually more advanced than Lore. And he's just saying it as matter of fact, like he finds it interesting, and Lore's like, it's driving him crazy because he's the emotional one.
So I would, because he's the emotional one. I would love to see this series where we almost have like a almost redeemed Lore, that he's grown, he's evolved, much like Data has. He's seen the value of having a people because humanity keeps stifling his growth, so he wants to see synthetics have their own planet, have their own society. He's not completely benevolent, but he's also not completely twisted. I just felt like that would have been so much better in Star Trek lore. No pun intended. But also would have been way more satisfying than all of these surprise characters that are super important to Star Trek that are just thrown in here and there.
So let's remove Sung for lore, and then throw Data in that sends Picard on this journey. So he's the one that tells them about the Borg cube, and that Soji's on the Borg cube. That would mean a lot more of like Data like feeding little pieces of information. That would create more of a character for Data in this series. Give you a little more of a connection to him.
Right, and he would have reason to reach out to Picard. We are never really given an explanation as to why Daj was told to find Picard. It's never really fleshed out in any meaningful way.
Well then, and if you want to keep Maddox in the picture, Maddox wasn't a huge fan of Data because Data resisted him, and that would be the perfect reason for Maddox to want to keep Data in a box.
Right, Maddox could go either way. He's getting what he's always dreamed of. What do you think, Joel? Do we have a winner?
I don't know that it makes a difference. I mean, all that sounds pretty good. Over what they did. Yeah. I mean, you guys are sitting here talking about like alternate theories and stuff, and it just reminded me of The Rise of Skywalker. And I mean, the Trevor Rouse script has now been released, and it's well, not released, but confirmed that it's pretty public, like what the story would have been. Yeah. It's just like anytime.
Oh no, you can find the script as well.
The actual script, you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can find it.
It's out.
that any time that like a beloved series tries to do anything, it's not gonna work. These are the best people that they have making this show.
I think that's the problem, though. Is it's a story by committee.
Right. It's like you're not gonna be happy. Stop being a fan of it because it's gonna suck.
That's the hot take.
Yeah.
Unless you give it to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And then...
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
do they do Star Trek?
We can ask.
That'd be interesting. I'd be down to see
I mean, Seth MacFarlane could have probably done a really awesome Star Trek.
Yeah.
He wanted to.
Why didn't they give it to him?
He wanted to. Like, Discovery was going to be like his show, and they're like, well, not necessarily Discovery, but whatever ended up being Discovery when they were going to bring CBS or bring Star Trek back to TV on CBS.
Yeah.
MacFarlane was like, "Oh, can I do this? I'm a really big fan," and they're like, we don't
but
really
that's how we got the
trust
Orville,
you."
and I really have enjoyed everything I've watched of the Orville.
Yeah.
So we get, sorry, to keep moving on, I know we got stuck there for a minute.
You don't want to stop down and talk about that more?
I mean, we could talk about what I would rather have seen Raffi do.
That can be part 2 of this podcast.
Great.
Stuff Ryan didn't like.
You guys are going to have... This is like a 14-part series.
We're not even going to be in the podcast. It's just going to be Ryan walking around his room, ranting into his phone like, and another thing!
I'll set up a webcam and I'll cut to you guys. It'll just be like planks of boards with googly eyes on them.
Just sitting here.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we get Picard's realization that he's dead, and that he's talking to Data. Data doesn't have any real recollection of what's happened since. He just knows that he's dead. We get kind of that weird "I love you," like "I wish I would have told you I loved you," which is kind of a callback to like the Raffi scene that we just got last episode. It still felt kind of weird for Picard.
Yep.
And then Data's telling him that he's going to have to leave. And we actually get the Next Generation sound as the door opens, which I thought was cool. It felt nostalgic to me. And then Data makes a request: when you leave, will you kill me?
I'm inexplicably stored on 3 large USB drives, and
so much
somehow
data, I couldn't fit him on one.
I can operate on only one. I don't know, but please unplug the orange USB drives.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't really tell him how. He just kind of tells him to kill him.
Yeah.
Which I really kind of thought the route that they were going to go with this was that Picard was going to invite Data to come with him. That we were going to get season 2 is Data and Picard sharing a body. That you get kind of this. Data is like this shadow in his head.
That's a character in The Flash. The CW series. There's like this old professor.
Firestorm?
Yeah, Firestorm.
Yeah, it's like this old professor and this young guy, like this young punk guy that live in a body together.
They take the young guy's body when they're in,
But they can separate.
Right.
Occasionally,
like
they figure out that they can.
Yeah, at first.
Yeah, they only
can't.
come. Yeah.
But they've been living for a while. If I remember correctly, they've been living for a while as like this. I don't know. No, I'm glad we didn't do that.
Yeah, they got stuck together for like a long time or something.
In fact, I just watched an episode of Next Generation where a professor, doctor dude, I don't remember what his name is, and as he's dying, he puts himself into Data's body, and then you watch the fight between Data and this other guy. So it would be that.
He's an old friend of Soong's, isn't he? And he's
I
like,
think
let
so.
me guess where your off switch would be.
Yeah.
It was there's creepy.
Data has an
like,
Ooh.
He's got.
It's
guess where
not
it is.
very well
Guess where
hidden.
it is.
I'm not gonna guess.
Uh,
I'm not gonna guess.
Yeah, that dude gave creepy uncle vibes all over the
Oh, yeah.
place.
That's why I'm not
Super
gonna guess.
creepy character.
And then once he was in Data's body, he was like hitting on people and
Yeah, his assistant, that she was too young
Yeah.
for him. And so you have Data hitting on her. It was weird.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
we could have that. Picard and Data together in one.
I mean, I thought they could have done that in a really organic way here. It would have been a sweet conclusion to, like, Data's already haunting his memories as it is. Now he actually has Data there that, you know, the benefits of being synthetic, you have this merger of organic and synthetic. I don't know.
Which you already
I don't know.
have.
I don't
Like,
think
he's
it's
already
great.
a
I just
synthetic.
thought-
He's just gonna be a double synthetic.
Yeah. So then, so Picard leaves. He goes out of the room. They upload him into the golem. They make him look the same age.
Exact same. Exact same.
Exact.
don't
same
extend
age.
his life at all.
Yeah, and then they even are like, well, don't worry. We saved you from your natural death and
You'll
instead
still
gave you the
die.
ability
That's
to have a natural death, to die.
this is the weirdest part of, like, this is supposed to be what everything was headed towards. But it feels like they kind of pulled their punch at the last minute here, where, like, nah, he's like, can I lift heavy things? They're like, nah, you can't lift heavy things. He's like, oh no, have you made me immortal? They're like, nah, you're gonna die. Like,
Just
the
of
dude is
old
not-
age
what he-
now.
In this show, he's like 94,
He's
95,
94.
right?
94 years in
90
the same body.
94, and he died of natural causes, but that wasn't good enough. We need to stop that from happening. We're gonna put you into a synthetic body
So that he can die of natural causes.
That's frail and
Another
old.
natural
Right.
cause.
We've bought you 3 years. Aren't you so happy? He even, like, he's scared to be immortal, which I can only imagine it comes off the cusp of, like, talking to Data about, like, he would like to experience death.
A butterfly that lives forever is not really a butterfly at all. That's
Okay.
Data's line. That's the last thing
Yeah.
that Data says.
I just even that line sounded so weird to me. It's like, what does that mean? I would have been happier with, like, a caterpillar that always stays a caterpillar, never gets to be a butterfly or something. But, like, no, it's just like
A caterpillar that crawls out of the space butthole. Oh wait.
the space. Oh no, the worms. They've evolved into space butterflies. Yeah, the Honda Civic that stays a Honda Civic never really lives at all. Like, you can apply that to anything. It doesn't make sense. But they just why can't he have augmented power? Why can't he be strong or smart or anything? Why does he need to be the exact same as he was? They were they were super selfish in that we can't let you die here, but they were satisfied enough to be like, yeah, but you can die later. We don't want
very soon, in fact.
Right.
Maybe by the end of the series.
Right. Jeez, we'll see how Whoopi brings ratings, and then we'll go from there.
Die for real.
And then we get the scene,
I do appreciate in this scene that they're all sitting there at the table and Picard is sipping on something in a mug. And it's just like that part of you that's like, I bet it's Earl Grey tea. I appreciated that.
Decaf. Definitely decaf. Can he drink caffeinated now?
It's probably just motor oil. He needs motor oil to lubricate.
Probably.
So and Picard didn't have a real heart. He had a prosthetic heart. So is that now taken care of? Did they heal that too?
I don't know.
Isn't technically all of him prosthetic? He is prosthetic now.
Why isn't Dr. Soong weeping in the corner going, I gave up immortality.
That was my
for
body.
You to have 3 more years. Yeah.
Then he tries to insert himself into that body, and then you get your you get a different Brent Spiner character sharing a body with him.
we get Dr. Soong with daddy issues. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was so weird to me to be like, he's synthetic, but he's not
He's
really.
not at all.
He's still gonna die. And then we get the death scene of Data. We finally get to send this character off.
Weird.
They unplug his 3 USBs. In the what was it, a simulation, he goes and lays out on his deathbed. The song that plays is what is it, Mr. Blue Sky?
Blue Skies.
Or,
Blue Skies.
Blue Skies.
Blue skies, smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies. Do I see?
Guys.
Then the actress who plays Soji sang it.
Yeah, which I thought was a nice little touch. In Nemesis, Data sings this song at the wedding, and this is the song that B4 hums, if I remember correctly, at the very end of Nemesis. So it was a nice little callback. They handled this well. All of the legacy characters that weren't regulars on the show, I thought they handled really well. I thought Data, they handled that pretty well. I thought Riker was my favorite part of this series. Deanna was great. And we get this sweet little scene here at the end where young Next Generation Picard is kind of sitting with Data as he drifts off. And they slowly dissolve into a nebula, which is a neat little effect.
Why does Data grow old?
Because it's showing.
Because they're taking those USBs away.
So that ages him? Does it like just make his hand disappear or something?
If he
like, it
if he
has to age him?
dies, then that's what makes him human. And so he was imagining or visualizing or simulating that he was finally human as he died.
He had Dr. Soong. Picard had Dr. Soong like recreate like a death simulation for Data to experience.
That's not morbid.
Yep. You basically watch a man commit suicide. Like that's pretty morbid. Like this whole.
Yeah, it was kind of euthanasia.
The
wasn't
whole
it?
scene was just very weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go.
Of all the
It's a
deaths
better-
in this like series, a lot of them were suicides. And some people talking about it.
Yeah.
Like Girardi's talking about suicide. We see all those Romulans after they experience the admonition. They commit suicide.
This is assisted suicide.
This episode 7 of 9 talks about wanting to kill herself.
Yeah, exactly.
She does, yeah. At least she finds something to live for.
Ugh.
So we move on towards the next scene. We've got the crew back aboard the La Serena. Apparently, they were able to get back to it. I guess they could beam up or something.
As if that was in question. We needed this last little bit.
So then we get we got Rios aboard the La Serena. Girardi comes up and gives them a kiss. They're so happy together. It's so great that they've found each other. And then we kind of... Ironically, this is really the first time we've actually moved around the ship in this show.
Yeah, when they
And it's
showed
the
this
last scene.
bottom part, I'm like, well, that's what it looked like behind there?
Did they just not have the set finished?
We've seen that before.
We've seen
Yeah.
seen that room, but we didn't know that that's how the layout was.
Yeah, we did because when Roth,
We've been able to kind of piece it
when Girardi went into her coma and the ENH called Rios, he was sitting in the cockpit and then he slid down the ladder, ran through that room.
Yeah, we've kind of slowly put this together.
We already.
But, like,
You mean in
we've
like
never
one
seen this
fluid shot?
Yes, we've never seen the camera move freely about the ship. And so we finally get this shot to show us, as we pan down, we see Raffi and 7 of 9. They're playing, I forget what the game is. I looked it up and I forgot to write it down.
Parisi Squares.
Duet?
No, it's not Parisi Squares, but...
They're playing some sort of 4-dimensional Tetris.
And holding
and then
hands.
They hold hands.
Aww.
Because this is very well established. This has been one of my favorite things to read about online, because people are so divided on this. Like, okay, so 7 of 9 throughout Voyager propositions a couple characters to have sex. She's like, all right, I will observe the human ritual of the sex, and like then later on in the series dates the first officer. So she's only ever been shown to be heterosexual. But then we have this scene, and maybe there's like an illusion that her and Bjayzl had been together at some point, but for the most part, people are either in the camp of like, this is weird and fan servicey in a dumb way, and other people are like, well, we couldn't possibly know what her sexuality is. She's a Borg. She doesn't know who she is, and I don't know. And no matter how you slice it, this is so far out in left field. It makes just no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like the kiss at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
Like, it to me, I know that they're doing it to support those views, but isn't it sort of just like patronizing? Like, I don't really care that it's there or that it's not, but it's like meaningless that they're just holding hands at the end of this thing. Like, again, another relationship that they didn't work for at all. I don't even know that they ever talked to each other. Rios and I mean, not Rios.
Not one-on-one.
Raffi and 7 and like, they weren't even friends, and now all of a sudden they're in a relationship. Like it
blossoming into a whole new thing.
Why? I didn't care that Rios and Girardi are now in a thing, and I don't care about this because none of it is earned. At least the Girardi and Rios thing, there's a little bit behind it, but why? I don't know.
It's just very bizarre to me. I mean, really, the only thing I can think of is they added this to get people to talk about this. It adds some, because this is basically what. Did any of you guys watch The Legend of Korra?
Yeah,
a little bit of it.
And I've not seen the last season, but I know that that's what happens at the end.
The Legend of Korra is really fantastic. In a lot of ways, it's on par with The Last Airbender. It's very well written. You don't think so?
I watched
Kaylee,
like the first season of it.
The first season is fine. Amon is a good villain, but it's not fantastic. The second and the third arcs are really pretty good.
Let's hope that mirrors Picard.
The fourth arc is very inspired. The writing is great. The villain is great. But the last scene, with no setup whatsoever, the last scene is Korra and Asami walking into the spirit realm together, hand in hand. And like, it was not telegraphed. It wasn't established. It didn't really need to be anything, but they brought it in at the last minute, and that's all people remember Legend of Korra for. And it's unfortunate, because it's not, you've not done the legwork to make it a good romantic story. I don't care so much about which characters you do. You just gotta actually set it up at some point.
Yeah.
You can't just yada yada to the end.
It's like shows in movies in the past, they always talk about the token black guy. I mean, it's such a thing that the black guy in South Park is named Token.
Token.
Now it's like we have the token gay character.
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't have a problem with it, but do some work. Make us care about it.
Yeah. We just had this happen with Star Wars, with the background characters
with the
in
kiss.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
We just had this happen with Frozen 2, where there's very lightly in the movie it's suggested, but then later confirmed off, publicly. Yeah, this is where this is headed.
Is it with Olaf? I've not seen this yet.
Is
it with Sven?
Olaf and Marshmallow.
Sven and
Kristoff.
We live.
Well, we talked about
so many times
shows and authors like retconning their stuff. J.K. Rowling did this with Dumbledore.
Dumbledore post-mortem.
Dumbledore is gay.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of that anywhere, or any reason to care which side of the plate he swings from. He's gay.
Right. I don't understand, I guess, this wave of like half-hearted, almost included undertones.
Right.
And like you get points for that, I guess.
But it would feel patronizing to me. Like, if you're going to include our lifestyle, which is what it is, like it's affirming that lifestyle. If you're going to do it, do it. Don't just like sort of hide it at the end and tuck it in where people could easily miss it. That seems more insulting to me than not having it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't make it a reveal.
Right. Yeah.
Just make it an actual like characteristic.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So all that to say, I really just don't care. I'm disappointed that I feel like 7 of 9 could do better.
Than Rafi, yeah.
Oh my.
Than Rafi.
Would it have been a
but,
a better couple if it would have been
Elner?
Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
Narek.
Rios.
Bill Cosby.
Picard.
Bill Cosby. Would it have been better if it would have been 7 of 9 and Bill Cosby instead?
How would that scene have sounded like?
Ryan's the expert on it.
I'll play 7 of 9. You do Bill Cosby.
No, you're the Cosby. I think that scene would take on a whole different meaning, knowing what we know.
Yeah.
That would not be a good scene to shoot.
Have you ever been assimilated? Let me show you my height. Anyway.
Awkward.
So
Get us out of here, Travis.
Yeah, that leads to the end. We've got the whole crew together. We're ready for season 2, wherever it could take us. And for some reason, Soji's on board, going with them. Also, we didn't really say that. But
she can travel now that the synth ban is over.
So
As can Picard.
So can I. Picard, Admiral, retired.
Yeah. And thus ends season 1 of Picard.
Ugh.
Success.
So when we started this show, did y'all think that we were going to have a 10-minute Data suicide scene at the end?
Nope. I can honestly say I really didn't expect to get...
Didn't see that coming.
It's not that was headed.
No, I was not expecting any of this.
So,
full of surprises.
We're at the end of season 1. How does season 2 sound to you?
Well, now that Riker is back in Starfleet, they're going to be running into him. I'm hoping a few more times, and we know that Whoopi's going to be coming back, and just need to get Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton in on this. And
I would have so the Data's goodbye. I would have really loved for Data to like say, wait a second, Captain. Would you make sure to say goodbye to LaForge for me, to Geordi for me? Like, I would have really loved that.
Like, I made a
scene.
personalized message for Geordi. Can you give it to him? And then we have
Right.
him deliver that in season 2.
We have a reason
Yeah.
for there to be right. I like the yeah. It felt like if you were watching Community, and Abed was saying goodbye to Jeff, but made no mention of Troy. It was like, oh, I guess I get it, because like Jeff is supposed to be the face of the show, but the real relationship here was with Geordi.
How mad do you think Geordi would be if he found out that Data has been in a box this whole time?
He hears from Picard. He's like, "You found Data? That's amazing! Wait, you killed him
Again?
Again? Yeah. I don't know. Do you think they just weren't confident they were going to pick up a second season?
I don't know. But even if that were the case, that could have been written out and reshot, because they were renewed for a second season well before the first season even aired. So they could have been like, oh, no, let's go back and let's tweak this ending.
I guess so.
So, I don't know. But, in any event, season 2 is on the horizon. Have no idea when they're going to be able to shoot that now. Production of Discovery has been a wrench thrown in that for season 3 and stuff. So we'll see when season 2 of Picard ends up showing up.
They have a lot of
But
time
when it
to
does,
sit and think about what they've done.
Yeah.
That's for sure. They sit there and they think about this.
That's what the quarantine is for. It's for you to just sit around and think about all your mistakes.
Well, I hope they put it to good use.
Yeah. All right. So, any final thoughts on this series and season thus far?
Kaylee,
What?
you're the guest here.
Oh, man.
What's your summary of the season?
It was alright. I'd love more of a Picard feel to his character. So I hope we get a little more of that. I hope we get some answers as to what Soji was doing on the Borg cube the next season. Yeah, and I hope we get more Riker. Riker was probably the best part of this series.
Yeah, I liked Kestra a lot too.
Mm-hmm. We'll get him and Kestra and Captain Crandall all teaming up.
You think there'll be a time jump?
They should have brought in Crandall.
Like,
Yeah, Travis had kind of thought they would do that for the finale.
Yeah, they set that guy up so much.
They really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope for season
So we'll
2 they take it in a fresh direction and not try and build or answer anything that they've done here. Maybe keep some of it in the background, but you have these shows that, like, the first season is good and solid, and I don't even know that we could say that about this show, and then they just try and, like, go deeper into the world that they've made, when they could just use the same cast and put them, especially for Star Trek, because that's what they do, right? Is they go different places and they do different stuff.
Usually,
I don't want, like, I'm good on this whole plot line. I'm good. Like, we stopped it. Let's go do something new. Because I feel
the next season is going to be Picard, facing his old nemesis Q, and slowly by the end of the season he'll also now be a Q.
I would be
that'd be awesome.
On board with Q coming back.
a synthetic Q.
I need Q back.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, season 2, bring in Q, and
It even rhymes.
So yeah. So until then, we are still doing stuff. The Clone Wars is still airing on Disney Plus, and Alex and I are still covering that. This week we will be discussing episode 6, Deal No Deal, and the continuation of that arc. So look for an episode of that coming up later this week. You can find this show on Apple Podcasts as well as YouTube. You can find us wherever you're finding your podcasts. Please subscribe, leave reviews. They are greatly appreciated and help us out a whole lot. So until next time. Oh, I don't even know how to end this now.
Set course for season 2?
Yeah, set course for season 2. Enter the queue.
Make it so.
Engage.
Make it so.
Make it so.
Careful, you idiot! I said across her nose, not up it! Sorry, sir. I'm doing my best. Who made that man a gunner?
I did, sir. He's my cousin.
Who is he?
He's an ass, sir.
I know that. What's his name?
That is his name, sir. Ass, major ass.
And his cousin?
He's an ass too, sir. Gun is made first class, Philip ass.
How many ass we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it. I'm surrounded by ass.
Keep firing, ass.